Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. What the slump yesterday is. The slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Better Off Dead Friday, November 14th. Bear with me because I am also trying to upload some assets here, including my my new drop here, which is the actually I should keep my headphones in if I'm going to try it out. Maybe I'll try it out during the show here. It's the Rick Pitino drop. Maybe I should just not do it during the show because I'm already late. Don't want to have to. Let me see here. Can I do this? Hold on. I'm going to try it right now. Yeah. This is going to be a drop that's going to be... I'm going to have a few different sports-related drops. Production value, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
Yeah. All right. All right. There we go. All right. We'll have some drops available if I want to talk about any of that. All right. Jeffrey, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. And Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out, guys. Yesterday on the show, I mean, nice bounce back with the... really nice bounce back on the college basketball slate there. I'm happy about it. San Jose State, I mean, they got there. That line was 24.5, 23.5, whatever. They wound up losing by 19, so they got in within that number. It was never in danger of Michigan State being a loss, but, I mean, the handicap was this game's going to be low scoring. Michigan State's probably not going to really care about style points, whatever, so... Michigan State, yeah, I mean, obviously they got the win easily, but I don't think they were covering at any point in the game. They were kind of just hovering right around that number and never quite hit it, I think. So that worked out well. Purdue got the outright win for us as a 4 or 3.5 point underdog. I think they were 3.5 by the time the game tipped off. One thing I forgot to mention as part of that handicap with Purdue was that Alabama... The fact that they beat St. John's plays a fast tempo, and that's the tempo that Alabama wants. So Purdue had the ability to potentially slow it down. Purdue was more of a tempo clash. Although, yes, usually the home team does control the tempo, but Purdue was able to slow it down just enough, kept the game in the 80s. That was enough to do it. And I hadn't realized that Purdue, one of their they brought back 4 starters from last year, but one of their best players, Kaufman Wren, I guess, hadn't played yet this season. And I think he played last night, although I'm not sure because I wasn't really watching the whole thing. So I wasn't aware that he wasn't playing, but still, I mean, they were going to have a really experienced backcourt regardless. So that was part of the handicap there. And then Grambling got us there as well as they did not blow it. They were winning the game by like double digits for a while. I think they were leading basically the whole game, but they let it get a little bit close for comfort. They wound up winning by, I think, 5, 6, whatever it was. And then the hockey play was a winner as well with the Detroit Red Wings. So that hit. That was close for a while. They were never losing, but they were alternating between being tied and being up 1, and then they pulled away late. I think they might have had an empty netter at the end with a 6-3 win, but they were up multiple goals at that point. Troy can kiss my ass. That was terrible, and I threw that in my one of my money pick'ems that has all the the like lesser conferences in it. I'm pissed about it. I mean, they were still in striking range at halftime. They were down 20-0. It was like, okay, well, if they make adjustments at halftime, maybe they'll be able to claw back into this thing. They only needed one score at that point to get back. They needed 2 scores, to get back within the number there, which is not asking that much, really. Although with that offense, I guess it is, because their offense is miserable. The one thing I forgot to really think about as far as that handicap was, even though Old Dominion, it's not realistic for them to win their division at this point. It was a primetime game at home, which I did mention. That was the first time they were doing that this year. So that is a motivating factor. So I probably shouldn't have really faded that. But the other thing is, they're not mathematically eliminated. And now they're in a point where if they keep winning, everything else is just out of their hands. So I talk about this in the NFL a lot. Like when a team controls their own destiny and literally if they win, they're in, that puts more pressure on them. But if they need to win and they need other things to happen, there's like less pressure on them and they can just play looser because it's like, well, we can win, but we still need these other teams to lose. And that's kind of the spot that they're in, even though I think it's highly unlikely that James Madison is going to drop behind them. But still, I guess that meant that they were playing a little bit looser for that reason. So maybe I shouldn't have added that one. I mean, that was the last one that I added. Thank you, sir. Red Wings, Toronto. I forget, what was my opinion on Toronto? Did I say I liked Toronto? I don't remember. Maybe I did. I don't remember. Obviously, the Red Wings was the one that I really liked yesterday. And then I did like Vegas yesterday, and I don't know if they wound up winning or not. They lost in overtime, actually. Oh, I should know because that's going to be part of my handicap in my hockey game today. All right. I don't have it up in the banners yet, but let me start doing this right now. I'm going to have 2 NBA plays today, 4 college basketball, 1 NHL. Man, I don't want this video to go, to go that long, but I'm not even gonna, let me not even put them in the system yet. Let me just, I'll do it and I'll put them in the banners as I talk about them, I guess. How about that? Okay. Toronto. Yeah. I don't even remember, man. Like I talk about the game and then it's just like out of my mind. Oh yeah, they were at home against the Kings. Yeah, all right. They covered. Yeah, they lost in overtime. Yeah, so the +1.5 covered. You probably had to pay a favorite price on that, on the +1.5 though. All right, college basketball. We do have one 11 a.m. game that's coming up in less than an hour on YouTube, which is on the Field of 68 or whatever. They're doing all these YouTube broadcasts now, which I like. You get more. And I think it's free, probably with ads if you don't have YouTube Premium, but which I do on my main account. Not this one, but my personal account. Yeah, so I mean, I like that they're doing this. You get these ugly games, although this one's real ugly. Coppin State and Central Michigan, and they're playing in St. Petersburg, Florida for whatever reason. At least it's not Russia. Russia, what? So I don't know what else to say about that game, really. I mean, it's an ugly game. Central Michigan is obviously the better team. Coppin State's really bad. Central Michigan is down to a 10-point favor from 10.5, but 79% of tickets, 84% of the cash. I wouldn't really want to have my money on a team as bad as Coppin State. I mean, they've faced a fairly difficult schedule, though. They've played all road games except for their opener against Maryland. They played James Madison, South Florida. Even LaSalle on the road, not really easy opponents to face. Central Michigan actually is probably the weakest opponent they faced this entire season. And this is, of course, in a neutral site game here. Central Michigan, I think, is further away from this location than Coppin is. I forget where Coppin is, but I think they're closer geographically than Central Michigan. This is probably going to be an empty stadium, though. Like, who's going to go to this game at 11 between these two teams? Central Michigan just played pretty close against South Alabama in their last game, which was, this was actually part of the same tournament, the showdown in St. Pete. And Central Michigan fell just short of a pretty good, not good. I don't know. We don't know yet. But South Alabama, they're still undefeated, and they're, I think, probably at least decent in the Sun Belt. So Central Michigan almost pulled off that game. They got knocked out of the tournament because of that. So I would actually lean to taking the points with Coppin State in this one, but man, this is ugly. I was going to say, I thought South Florida may have been part of this thing because South Florida's in this area. Like, they're a Tampa school, so I was thinking that maybe they were like the host of this tournament or something, but I guess not. Now, The one thing about Central Michigan, though, is that they've already played in this venue, and Coppin State has not. So I talk about that, too. And you have a team that is already adjusted to the venue, like they're more familiar with what the venue's like and like the sight lines and stuff. So they have a little bit of an advantage in that respect, although I'd still lean against Central Michigan in this case. Plus, they're just not a good team. So asking them to cover by margin is a bit of an ask, although both of these teams are terrible. Pinsy, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. 11 a.m. games for Central Michigan. Yeah, because they're both in this showdown in St. Pete, I guess, whatever the hell that really is. I mean, Lehigh is playing Rutgers. I don't know if I want to go through this entire board in detail, especially these games that I just have no opinion on. Rutgers, obviously the better team. Lehigh might step up their game for a game against a Big Ten team, though, and they probably won't be intimidated at this point because they've already played on the road against Houston and West Virginia. West Virginia, by the way, played last night and looked pretty good in crushing Pittsburgh, although Pittsburgh's best player might have been out for that game. I'll have to look at the box score. West Virginia, by the way, something I did not know is North Texas's coach from the last few seasons is now at West Virginia. So West Virginia, they were already playing a slow tempo, I think. So I think they're going to be one of the slowest tempo teams in the entire nation now with that coach in there. That's what he does. Slow down, play defense. I think it will improve West Virginia, though. I mean, they've been down the last couple of years. But Lehigh, they've been pretty battle-tested so far, so I don't think they're really going to be intimidated facing Rutgers, although Rutgers is a 17.5-point favorite. They do have the money right now, 56% of the cash, 67% of the tickets on Lehigh. I mean, I don't really know what public bettor is coming in on Lehigh here. But just because Lehigh's been battle-tested and Rutgers is just not that good, I might lean towards taking the points with Lehigh there. Rutgers, by the way, of course, their entire team, basically, which was Ace Bailey and who was the other guy they had last year? They had like 2 star players, and then that was their entire team last year. They both went into the NBA, I'm pretty sure. So this Rutgers team, I don't even know what they are at this point, so I don't want anything to do with them. Saab, what's up, man? Blues Flyers. We'll talk about that in the NHL segment, which hopefully I can get through this college basketball quickly. Our friends at IU Indy, IUPUI, are playing at Eastern Michigan now. IU Indy, number 1 in the country in tempo, man. I mean, this team, it's just what it is. They're literally, according to KenPom, they're number 1. They're the fastest paced, number 1 in tempo. They're the fastest paced team in the country. They're still like a bottom 20 power rated team, and they're like the 3rd worst defense in the entire country because all they do is just run the floor. And if you beat their press, they're not going to defend you. I mean, basically, it's ridiculous. Like, it's not a formula for success, man. Although they have faced a difficult schedule, they played on the road at Ohio State and at Butler, although they allowed both of those teams to score 112 or more points. Not great. Now they're on the road again at a weaker opponent in Eastern Michigan, and IU Indy did get their first win, finally, against a Division II school. Eastern Michigan, not great, although they did play okay at Pitt in their last game. So they're like slightly battle-tested, although they are coming off a more difficult game where they actually played Pitt to within 12 on the road. So I'm actually going to lean to taking the points with IUPUI in this one. I mean, Eastern Michigan, finally a weak opponent. I think probably the weakest that IUPUI has faced so far besides that Division II team. Eastern Michigan is public for whatever reason. I guess because people see IUPUI at 1-3 and just instinctively fade them. 67% of tickets, only 65% of the cash on Eastern Michigan. But if you like IUPUI, this line has totally gone away. Like, it's down from 9.5 to 4.5 now. Just these these college line moves, man. It's just really, really hard to beat some of these line moves because they just get out of control so quickly. I was not really interested in playing that game anyway, though. All right. Lindenwood and Charleston Southern, I just thought was a little bit interesting because this is a tournament, the Bulldog Bash, which is being played at Huntsville, Alabama, which I guess is, I don't know. Is there some school in Huntsville that's the Bulldogs? I don't even know, man. So both of these teams are not playing at home here. It's a neutral site game. I believe Charleston Southern actually already played in this tournament, but they lost to Alabama A&M, which is a pretty disgusting loss, although Alabama A&M was actually favored. I believe they're in the SWAC. They're in a very, very bad conference. Charleston Southern is in a slightly less bad conference in the Big South, but I guess Charleston Southern is considered to be, Alabama A&M is hosting it. That's why. So Alabama A&M was literally the home team in this game. They're the Bulldogs. Okay, that makes more sense now. So Charleston Southern is actually the better of the two teams, but Alabama A&M was a slight favorite because they were on their home court. They actually got the win. Now Charleston Southern, that's why this was listed as a true road game. And why I didn't notice that it was a part of a tournament. Now, Charleston Southern, they're off an ugly loss, and they're used to the venue. So those are two things that I think are kind of in favor of Charleston Southern here, because they might want to bounce back from that loss, and they already played in this venue, whereas Lindenwood, I don't believe they did. Lindenwood, their last game was at St. Louis, and they did get annihilated, though. But Lindenwood, they're 1-2, but their two losses were absolutely expected. I mean, they lost at Texas Tech. There was no way they were going to win that game. And then at St. Louis, even though St. Louis a little bit down. I don't know, does St. Louis still have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there now, the guy who transferred over from Indiana State, Avila, or is he graduated now? I don't even know, because he was at St. Louis, and they didn't do particularly well with him, but he is good. I don't know if they still have him or not. Still, St. Louis is way better than Lindenwood. So Lindenwood might be in a little bit of a bounce-back spot as well, but they actually flipped from a 4-point dog to a 3.5-point favorite here, which doesn't make any sense. Maybe they were never actually a 4-point dog here. I think Lindenwood is the better team here at this point, but I don't know, man. I mean, Charleston Southern already adjusted to the venue. In my opinion, I don't know, it seems like you might want to take the points with them in this game, but, I mean, there's no way I'm going to do anything with that. Oh, thank you, sir. Yes, we cashed on all of the college basketball, yes. The Leafs blew 2-0 and 3-2 leads. They covered the +1.5 puck line in overtime, but they lost. What happened with the Pacers? I have absolutely no idea. The Pacers are not really a team that I'm paying much attention to, although you're going to hate my NBA plays today. But, yeah, although I don't think one of them is on the Pacers. Duke, number 4 in the country, which I think they're probably about appropriately ranked. They're hosting Indiana State. Not a whole lot to say about this. Duke's obviously going to be a giant favorite here. Although Duke plays slow, so I never really want to lay points with Duke. Duke on veterans, they just went to West Point and embarrassed Army. Last time the Army was that embarrassed was probably the Vietnam War, baby. Duke, yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. I mean, yeah, Duke went in and absolutely destroyed them. But that was kind of an interesting game because it was this big Veterans Day thing. Duke might be feeling pretty satisfied about that. Now they get to play this weak Indiana State team, and Duke does have to play Kansas in 4 days, which is going to be a bigger game. So I would probably take the points with Indiana State if I was going to do this. Plus, Duke does play really slow, so you don't really want to lay massive amounts of points with them typically. Even though this is against a pretty weak team. Indiana State did just pull off an upset over SIU Edwardsville on the road in a battle of Indiana schools. I think SIU Edwardsville, that game just meant more to them, though, because I think they're considered to be a littler brother in that state, even though they were actually the favorite in that game because they were at home. So could debatably be a bounce-back spot there for Indiana State if they consider themselves to be the bigger brother. Money came in on Duke, driving them up from 32.5 to 37 with juice. 60% of tickets, 95% of the cash on Duke. I mean, the line at this point is really, really high. And again, Duke, they play slow, so they do play low-scoring games, although this total is in the 160s, which is not low. But we'll see what happens. I would look towards fading Duke, though. And Duke is not as slow as they were last year, it looks like, at least according to KenPom right now, but they're still in the bottom, like, third of tempos. You think you're going to like, yeah, you like painful plays. Speaking of bad teams, Eastern Illinois is playing Kentucky. I mean, this is probably even worse. I mean, Kentucky is, well, it's interesting because this is actually a sandwich spot for Kentucky. Eastern Illinois is worse than Indiana State is what I meant to say. Kentucky, they're coming off a big game against Louisville, man. I mean, that's a rivalry game. Louisville is on the upswing. Louisville was able to beat them. I forget what changes Louisville has made this year, but they're looking like they're a pretty dangerous team right now. Kentucky also is, but Kentucky still looks like they're going to be like lacking a bit defensively. That was their first test. They lost. Now they get a home game against a cupcake, and up next they got to play Michigan State in 4 days. So this is a sandwich spot. This is one where I just don't think I could do it, man, with Eastern Illinois playing a second straight road game. They did just have to go to Notre Dame, South Bend. I know it's probably not that big of a travel leg to go from southern Indiana down to Kentucky, but still to Lexington, Kentucky, I believe, to be with Dave Portnoy. Kentucky has gone up to a 37-point favorite here from 34.5. Money appears to be on Kentucky. 57% of tickets, 72% of the cash coming in on Kentucky. So money is coming in on Kentucky. The other thing about Kentucky is they play pretty fast, 68th in tempo. And Ken Bum actually has them as the 9th best defense right now in defensive efficiency. Eastern Illinois is like one of the absolute, like they're a bottom dweller. I mean, they're actually at 313th now in the country, but they have a bottom like 15 offense in the entire country, which is really bad, and they play really slow. So I just can't get there at this one, man. I mean, Kentucky, they're going to try to speed it up, and if they do that, they might actually be able to blow out Eastern Illinois by that margin. I would still probably take the points with Eastern Illinois if I was going to play it because it's a bad spot for Kentucky, but that pacing mismatch is really, really significant in that one. Like just a huge tempo discrepancy between those two teams. All right. The Nets, are they a play? Day'Ron Sharp, I don't even know who that guy is. Is he good? I don't know. His name's not good. The Nets, oh man, that would be about as ugly as possible. Norfolk State is playing Towson. Norfolk State in this game, they just came off playing really close against both William and Mary and Old Dominion. Norfolk State, I mean, those are two in-state games against, two Virginia teams, and I think Hampton is also in Virginia, who they're playing next. So this is like kind of a Virginia sandwich here, whatever sandwiches they eat in Virginia. Then I'll have to go up to Maryland. This is going to be Norfolk State's first time playing outside of the state of Virginia. They just played a bigger brother in Virginia in Old Dominion as 8.5-point underdogs. Norfolk State basically took them almost to the limit. Norfolk State was winning early in the game. The game was actually tied with 2 minutes left in the game. So I think Norfolk State will be hung over coming into this game. I do like Towson in this one. Towson did face Houston, so they're somewhat battle-tested just from that. And they didn't play horribly in the game, although Houston may have just kind of taken them really lightly. I like Towson here, though, if I was going to play this one. Towson bounced back with an easy win last time out over a Division II team or whatever. This one was close to being a play for me, actually, but you have to lay a bunch of points. The money is agreeing with me, though. Towson's up from 10.5 to 11.5 here. It looks like the money is on their side, even though I don't see the percentages yet. I do like Towson in that game. That one's close, man, I got to say. Like, that's one of the ones that's just missing my card right now. I don't want to add, I keep getting caught by adding more plays than what I already had in. I won't do it, but I would lay it with Towson if I was going to do that. Charleston against South Carolina State. Charleston hasn't played for a while, but they did just play in this like tournament or whatever it was, which was, I believe, hosted by Liberty. Charleston did badly in the tournament. They lost to Liberty and FAU. Now they're back at home, which I believe this is going to be their first Division I game at home. Then they got to play Drake after this. Maybe a look ahead, although Drake is another different team this year. It's possible Charleston Southern overlooks South Carolina State, though, and South Carolina State is a team that considers themselves to be one of the little brothers in the state of South Carolina. But the one thing that's a positive for Charleston is they've had a bunch of days off. They haven't played since Saturday when they've finished up in that tournament there. So sometimes having that extra time off will help you break that losing momentum. So I can't quite get there with this one, although I would slightly probably lean to taking the points with South Carolina State. South Carolina State, they've played every game on the road so far. I know it does fatigue you when you're on the road for that long, though, so that's a little bit of a concern, although it does mean they're at least kind of battle-tested because they keep playing all these road games. So they're at least not really going to be intimidated playing another road game here. Charleston is up from 15 to a 16.5-point favorite, 75% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on the South Carolina State side. So the money is kind of indicating on the South Carolina State side. Lay the points on the road with the Clippers. 0-6 last 6. They also are winless on the road. Yeah, no thank you. There's no way I'm going to be doing that. Minnesota, T-Wolves should be minus 20 against anyone at the NBA Cup. Yeah, you're really going to love what I have to say about that game. All the NBA Cup, dude, it's going to blind both teams. Like, neither team wants to look at these courts. These NBA Cup courts are terrible. Fordham at Iona, this is a New York battle here, as Iona, I think, is more in upstate New York, if I'm not mistaken. They're somewhere north of New York City. Fordham is in the Bronx. Iona's won both games so far, although beating Kansas City on the road, maybe not a huge deal, though they did have to travel to Kansas City. Now they're coming back home. Not the greatest travel spot, and they do play Princeton next, so is it possible that Iona overlooks Fordham, even though this is a New York battle, and Fordham is in a better conference in the A-10? Iona is in the MAAC, but Iona makes the tournament way more often than Fordham does. So which one of these teams is considered to be the little brother? I don't know. So I'm trying to gauge like which of these teams will have more motivation here. I think it's going to be Fordham, because Fordham, they just almost got caught by Wagner. Fordham at home, 12.5-point favorites, came fairly close to losing this game. It was an ugly, low-scoring game. Wagner was winning the game for basically the entire first half. Fordham was able to overcome it close the rest of the way, basically, and Fordham was able to escape with a win there. So sometimes that will focus you, although now this is Fordham's first true road game, although it's only going to Iona, where I think they're fairly comfortable with playing at Iona. Like, I don't think that's a weird travel spot for them. Obviously, they're staying in New York and whatever, so I think it's something that they are at least used to. I would probably lean towards Fordham in this game. Iona's actually, maybe Fordham actually does consider themselves to be the little brother, because Iona is the favorite. They're down from 7 to 5.5. Of course, Iona did have Rick Pitino was their coach there. Hey, guess what? I get a chance.
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
Yeah, Rick Pitino was their coach for a little while there. 88% of the tickets on Iona, but 59% of the cash coming in on Fordham. And Iona did drop off of that key number of 7 down to 5.5. If you want that, I would take the points with Fordham. That would be one of my better leans, I guess, in that one. No. No. Iona is never going to be ranked. Not even close. Am I on the Kings today? I don't know. I was going to break out my Sabonis jersey, but I didn't do it. Furman and Northern Iowa. This game is actually more interesting. A lot of these games are on ESPN Plus, by the way. I like this matchup. I think both of these teams are pretty interesting teams. Northern Iowa did just they kind of escaped against South Dakota State, although South Dakota State still a team that I think you do kind of get up for, because they're one of the better Summit teams. Northern Iowa, I think, just continuing to play at home, or was this game at Sioux Falls? Let me see. No, this is at home for Northern Iowa, so they're just staying at home. It's a weird travel spot for Furman, and maybe Furman's a little bit down this year. One of their losses was to High Point, and High Point looks like they're pretty good again this year, at least offensively they certainly are. Inexplicably, Furman did lose for me on the show against Troy in their next game, although Troy isn't a bad team either. I mean, I think they won the Sun Belt last year, and they're still in the mix in the Sun Belt this year. Furman did get their first win to break that losing momentum. When you get that first win, even though it was against a non-D1 team, you do get that monkey off your back. But now they have to travel to Iowa, and Furman, I believe, is in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Now they got to go to Iowa, which is a pretty unfamiliar travel spot, I think, in venue. So I do kind of like Northern Iowa in that one, although the money is kind of disagreeing with that. Furman, 67% of tickets, 81% of the cash on them in Northern Iowa, down from 10 to 9. The money seems to disagree with Northern Iowa on that one, but that's just my read on it. JC, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Next up is going to be one of my plays. So this is the best bets segment. Hopefully we're running through these games, man. I got 4 college basketball plays today. This first one up, this line is already moving, man. So the money is agreeing with me. Try to get the best number that you can on this. But for me, let me just make sure what number I got on this. But this is going to be a play on Hofstra, and the money is already moving towards Hofstra. I found them at -1.5. I think it's 2.5 now. I mean, if it's below, like, I'm actually breaking my own rule here, because usually I say when it's -1, -1.5, or -2 in college basketball, you actually want to lay the money line. So if you want to do that, you could do it. It was around -130 though. So I found a -1.5 at like +100 even money. So I was like, you got to do it that way. If it's that cheap, if it's -1.5, -110, that's a different story. But at +100, that actually, I think, kind of shifts the value to laying the -1.5. But whatever you want to do with this one, I like Hofstra here. Money line, it makes sense here. -1.5, -2. I'm not going to knock you for that. If you look at this game on the surface, it's like, well, why would you want to do that? Because Hofstra's on the road. They're only 1-2. They haven't won a game on the road yet. Bucknell is undefeated at home at 1-0, and they're 2-1 overall. So it's like, it looks so easy to take the points with Bucknell. Like, why would Bucknell be an underdog here? Well, the odds makers are telling you that Hofstra is the better team, such that they're actually favored on the road. They're already up to 2.5. It looks like it's headed towards 3. I mean, again, I apologize, but these lines just move so quickly. Like, this line was legitimately 1.5, like when I handicapped this game like about an hour ago. I mean, it's just crazy how quickly you got to get onto these numbers. Like, I'm trying to get out the information in the morning, and it's just insane. Now, Hofstra is definitely the better team. The Patriot League, where Bucknell has been awful recently, and we see a lot of indicators that make me want to look against Bucknell. They're only 258th in Ken Palm's rankings. They're a little bit better defensively at 187. They can't score well. They're a slow-paced team, which I believe Hofstra also is, so I don't think the pacing is really going to be a problem in this game. I think both teams like to play pretty slow, although Bucknell plays even slower. Bucknell, 81st in Ken Palm's luck index, and they have not faced a difficult schedule at 235th in strength of schedule. So that means Bucknell is overperforming at 81st in luck. They haven't faced a difficult schedule yet. Hofstra is up at 155th in Ken Palm's rankings, although I know they've been a team that kind of tends to underperform, though. But he has them 234th in luck, so he has them unlucky so far this year, and 97th in strength of schedule. So they're top 100 in strength of schedule. They're 122nd in defense, and they do play slow, 281st in tempo. So two slow-paced teams, so it's not going to throw either team like out of their element. So yeah, you know, the home team usually controls the tempo, but that's fine because Hofstra wants to play slow as well. Hofstra has the better defense here, and I think the better offense. Hofstra's just better overall, although both teams, I think, are more defense-oriented, like I said. Yeah, Hofstra, I think, is just better in both departments. It's almost like they're just a similar style of team. It's just that Hofstra's better at it, and Hofstra's faced a more difficult schedule, so that's why their record looks like it does. They lost by 4 at UCF in their opener. 8.5-point underdogs in this game. Hofstra played pretty well in this game, man. At a Big 12 team in Florida, that is not a bad loss at all. Taking UCF almost to the wire there. And then they played our friends at Iona in their last game in a New York battle there. And Iona did get the best of them, even though Hofstra was actually the favorite on the road. So the oddsmakers told you Hofstra was actually the better team in this game. And if you look at what happened in this game, Hofstra did out-rebound Iona, but they didn't shoot well. I mean, really the discrepancy here, or the outlier, I should say, was the 28% three-point percentage from Hofstra in the game. Kind of an outlier there. Kind of expect Hofstra to shoot a bit better from 3 in their next game. Meanwhile, Bucknell's faced the easier schedule, man. I mean, they beat Delaware at home. Delaware looks like they're a bit down this year. I mean, they made kind of a surprise run last year. I don't think they were really as good as they looked last year. And then Bucknell did beat Mount St. Mary's on the road. Mount St. Mary's is in the MAAC now, and they're not very good in the MAAC. And they were actually a favorite in that game against Bucknell, although not by home court, not by the home court advantage. So Bucknell was considered to be the better team in both of those games, I believe. Bucknell was the home favorite against Delaware, although close. Bucknell also just went out to Princeton, and I think that was a big game. I mean, Princeton, these teams that are kind of in the upper half of the Ivy, you usually get up for games like that. And Bucknell, they're in Pennsylvania. Princeton's in New Jersey. Maybe it's kind of a thing. Like Bucknell, I think they got up for this game. Princeton was a favorite, and they did wind up still covering the number. But even so, I mean, but it was a difficult game, I think, for Bucknell. I think they got up, like, emotionally for that game. Now they got to come back home and play Hofstra. And coming up next, they got to play Pitt. And then they got to play St. John's, man. So, what
inside, I want to kill myself.
So they have bigger games coming up next, man. And Pitt is actually a big game for Bucknell because, like I said, Bucknell is in the state of Pennsylvania. So Pitt is one of their biggest games of the year. That's a big brother, little brother situation. They get to play an ACC Pennsylvania team. I think they might look ahead here, too. So, again, I think you have at least a look-ahead spot, if not a sandwich spot here. You're getting basically a pick-the-winner price with Hofstra, and Hofstra is the better of the two teams. Again, they're a bit more battle-tested right now. And, yeah, I mean, that's basically what I have to say about it. The records are just misleading early on. So, I like Hofstra. That's going to be the first play there. Hofstra at -2.5. They're screwing you. Lay the money line. Like, they're screwing you with -2.5 at -120. It's just so, or just get a different book besides FanDuel. FanDuel sucks, dude. Again, this is why I say make an account at literally every book that's available, including offshore books, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say on here, but offshore, you can definitely get some better numbers at some of those books over there. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to skip some of these other games here. High Point and UAB. This game I did have an opinion on. UAB, they're coming off losing at home to Alabama State. I mean, that's a bad loss for UAB, man. No doubt about it. UAB was 19.5-point favorites in this game. And you know what I always say. When a team loses a giant favorite like this, something went wrong in that game. You know they're going to be angry and start working on fixing some things after that. UAB was winning basically this entire game and then somehow lost the game. They just didn't really... Well, actually, Alabama State was winning the first half. My mistake. Even though UAB's win probability was still well above 50% because they're that much better. UAB took the lead, and it looked like at that point you'd probably think, okay, they're going to finally just put this game away. No, they basically stalled out, and Alabama State wound up winning the game. Some outliers here where UAB did win the rebounding battle, so they were the better team on the boards. UAB, the outlier here is they shot 10% from three-point range, and they lost the turnover battle at home, which usually does not happen. So I expect some progression for UAB back to some sort of mean, and they're going to play better than that. I think they're going to get up for this game because High Point made the tournament last year. Everybody kind of knows High Point at this point. They're a good offensive team. They're undefeated. High Point's just kind of rolling right now. This is going to be their first true road game, having to go to UAB. I like UAB in this game. You're getting them as an underdog. High Point is the better team. High Point down from 3 to 2.5 here. 71% of tickets, 75% of the cash coming in on UAB. So the money sort of indicating on taking the points with UAB. I would like this better if UAB was a slow-tempo team because High Point likes to play fast, but UAB actually plays even faster right now. UAB 30th in the country, so I think this is going to be a chaotic game, and you can see the total all the way up to 169. I wouldn't really disagree with an over in this game either because I think you're going to get two teams that are much better offensively than defensively, and they both like to play fast. So over makes sense in this game as well, but and you want to go over high totals usually because the odds makers are putting it out that high for a reason. Although you've lost some value on that one now. And sometimes I think the public gets scared away from playing overs when they're that high, when the totals are that high. But yes, I do like UAB to bounce back in that game too. That one hasn't made my card, but I like it. I mean, we got some games. I don't want to go into great detail with some of these games. Ole Miss and USC are both playing cupcakes. Ole Miss against Cal State Bakersfield. USC at home against Illinois State. They're both going to be huge favorites. I got really nothing to say about that. New Orleans at Tulane in this Battle of Louisiana. Tulane just won a Louisiana battle against Louisiana. formerly Louisiana Lafayette. Tulane was a favorite on the road in that game, and they only won by 4. So you could argue that Tulane got a little bit of a scare there and might bounce back and play better in the next game. They did shoot pretty poorly from three-point range in the game, 21.4%, and lost the turnover battle. They do have Utah State up next, though, so they might consider that to be a big game. And New Orleans here is going to consider themselves to be the little brother to Tulane in the state of Louisiana here. New Orleans did just play at LSU, so this is actually going to be their weakest opponent they've faced so far because they played TCU and LSU, and now they get a reprieve by playing Tulane here. So I think it's actually a positive for both teams here. So I can't quite do it. I'll slightly lean to taking the points with New Orleans. Tulane, 78% of tickets, 87% of the cash, but they did drop from 13 to 11.5 here. I think New Orleans, just because they have been battle-tested, this is they're not really going to be intimidated at this point, and they are still the little brother. Tulane does kind of have bigger things on the horizon potentially, so I still would take the points there, but that's not one that's made my card either. Zach, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, FanDuel is still making me angry, by the way. Whenever Jeffrey talks about FanDuel's lines, I start getting really, really angry at how much they screw the customer. Although I do have an account at FanDuel, obviously, myself. You got to have accounts everywhere, man. Sometimes they are going to be the choice and have the best number on some particular play that you want to make. Milwaukee is at Texas Tech. The only thing I could say, Texas Tech obviously is a huge favorite here, but they are coming off their first loss, and it was a big game at Illinois, and they played tough in the game. Sometimes when you're coming off a tough game like that against a good team, but facing the fact that you took your first loss of the season, sometimes that will hang you over into the next game. And they got to face Wake Forest next, which I don't know how much attention Wake Forest really will draw from you, but they are still an ACC team, so I could see Texas Tech being a little bit deflated here against Milwaukee. Milwaukee just at least got battle-tested by going to play at Indiana, and they got blown out by 31 points. They're 0-2 on the road now, Milwaukee. They did lose at Wofford as well. But they're at least not going to be intimidated by playing on the road against a big opponent. Texas Tech, again, the game's surrounded by bigger teams. They could just be of the mindset that we got to just get in and get out of this game. Texas Tech plays a slower tempo as well, so it's easier to fade it, or it's a better prospect to fade a team when they're laying a ton of points when they play slow. Texas Tech up from 25.5 to 27.5, 71% of tickets, 87% of the cash coming in on the Milwaukee side. So I would agree with the money on that one and take the Milwaukee side plus the points if you actually want to do it. Samford is at Arkansas. Arkansas, I'm not going to throw Rick Pitino in there again, although Arkansas, I believe, they beat Rick Pitino last year in the tournament, I believe. Arkansas had a nice bounce back from that tough game at Michigan State. They bounced back and they crushed little brother Central Arkansas, though Central Arkansas sucks. And now they got to face Samford, who is at least better than Central Arkansas. But Arkansas did have a nice bounce back win there. Samford's off to a fine start, but they haven't beaten anybody good yet, and their best opponent was Tulane, and they lost that game. Samford's been pretty good over the last few years, but maybe taking a little bit of a step down again. I don't really see an angle in this one, really. I don't want to do anything with this game. Arkansas, big favorite, up from 25 to 26. Not a whole lot going on with that. And then Creighton's a huge favorite against Maryland Eastern Shore. But at least with Creighton, you could argue they're in kind of a bad spot because they did have to go out to Spokane, Washington, a big game that they got up for against Gonzaga. And as I predicted, I said lay the points with Gonzaga on that one if you want to play it. Gonzaga ran away with that game and just basically embarrassed them in the end of it. Gonzaga likes to play fast as well. I think Creighton plays a bit slower than that, if I'm not mistaken. Creighton at 219th in tempo now. So that was a pretty bad matchup and kind of a weird travel spot. Now they're coming back home. I could see them being a little bit hungover, though, with traveling back across time zones. Maybe Creighton won't take Maryland Eastern Shore seriously, although we did see Maryland Eastern Shore push Georgia Tech to the limit early on. And they actually played pretty decently against Nebraska in their last game, losing by 19 on the road to Nebraska. That's not a horrible result. Maryland Eastern Shore, what you can say about them is they're battle tested. I mean, they've faced Georgia Tech, Georgia, and Nebraska on the road, although they were terrible against Georgia, and that was one of our winners on the show, laying the huge price with Georgia in that game. I just thought it was a spot where Maryland Eastern Shore is going to be completely hungover. They're still not good. You could argue this is a bad spot for both teams after Maryland Eastern Shore did play pretty competitively against Nebraska. Creighton's up to a 33-point favorite from 30.5. Not touching this game, just pointing some things out here. Is of course, the college basketball board takes forever to get through, man. And I still have 3 plays to go that are somewhere in here. You never know when they're going to come up when I do college basketball. East Texas A&M and Rice is interesting just because Rice is, I guess, better than we thought they were, although they came back home from that big game against Oregon, and they did lose because they played Oregon so close going out to the Pacific Coast. I think it was a bad spot coming back home. They lost to Stephen F. Austin. Rice was a small favorite there. Stephen F. Austin, decent program there, and they're actually looking pretty good this year. Rice now stepping down in class to face East Texas A&M, potentially in a bounce-back spot, even though they do have Tennessee next. Kind of expect Rice to show up for this one. East Texas A&M coming back from playing in Hawaii. I mean, not a great travel spot here for East Texas A&M. They've only had 3 days off as well, so I would probably lay the points with Rice, although the line's down from 12.5 to 10 here. Rice seems like kind of a surprise team right now that's maybe better right now than we thought that they were going to be, because I'm just used to them being like just non-existent almost, and now they actually look not bad. Although East Texas A&M might consider themselves to be a little brother to Rice in the state of Texas too, so, do with that information what you will. UCF at Texas A&M is a game between 2 big conference teams, Big 12 and SEC. Texas A&M looking like they're not as good this year. I think they're going to be a bad offense as usual, but they look like they're taking a step down this year. They did just lose ugly on the road at Oklahoma State, who's not very good. Texas A&M was a favorite there, and they lost the game. It was their first road game. I think I did say I leaned to Oklahoma State in that one. Now Texas A&M is coming back home, kind of in a bounce-back spot, I would say. For UCF, I mean, their one big game, they lost at home to Vandy. I mean, that's not a great sign. Now they're going to go on the road for the first time this season. First true road game, usually difficult. Lean to Texas A&M for me in this one. Oh, let's manage my add-ons, yeah. Texas A&M up from 9 to 10 here, 56% of tickets, 87% of the cash coming in on Central Florida, though. So the money is coming in on UCF. I don't agree with that. I would lay the points with A&M in this one, but there's such a horrific offense that laying points with Texas A&M is not fun. Let's just put it that way. Not something that's going to make my card at all. Xavier and Iowa looks interesting, because Xavier seems to now be getting disrespect in the market, and maybe rightfully so, because they lost, of course, their coach from last year, Sean Miller, who went to Texas, brought some of his guys from Xavier with them. Xavier struggled in their first 2 games against Marist and Lemoyne, who was really bad. Marist isn't that bad in the MAC right now, but Xavier, I mean, they did not look good in those 2 games. Then they lost by 19 at home to Santa Clara. That's not really a good sign, man. It looks like Xavier is a down team this year. Now they're going on the road to Iowa. First true road game, going to a place where they're not used to playing, and they're going to this Iowa team that's now Ben McCollum, and Iowa off to a 2-0 start, but they haven't beaten anybody like remotely good really so far, even though I know Robert Morris won the Horizon last year. Don't think they're that good, but Iowa... Yeah, I mean, Iowa's going to be a pretty decent team here. Iowa's up from 13 to 15.5. I don't really disagree with that move, although the money's coming back on Xavier. 56% of tickets, 76% of the cash coming in on Xavier. Xavier just looks like they're not very good, man. I mean, what else can we say about it? Iowa might be improved again in this McCollum regime. It's just that he plays so horrifically slow that laying points, double-digit points, isn't exactly something I'm really wanting to do. I don't really have a strong opinion on this game either, but total is also way down from 150.5 to 141.5. Money coming in very strongly on the under here, which you got to think, like, it's not news that Iowa is a Ben McCollum team, and people know what he does, so I don't know. Huge adjustments in the totals still there. Northwestern at DePaul. This is a Chicago battle here where I think DePaul considers themselves to be the little brother since Northwestern is in the Big Ten and they're an upper echelon conference. And the Big East kind of taking a step back, and DePaul's not very good in the Big East. Northwestern, nice roll to start the season, but, I mean, they haven't really played anybody good yet. This is going to be their first true road game, although I know they're still staying in the Chicago area. But they did just put up 110 points against Cleveland State, which was a loss for me on the show. I admit it. I did not think Northwestern was going to explode offensively like that. But I think they're going to regress after that because they shot ridiculously in this game. Look at Northwestern's shooting percentages. 60.3% from the field and 52.4% from three. In addition, Cleveland State had 17 turnovers to Northwestern's 7, although Northwestern did dominate the rebound battle, but still ridiculous outlier for Northwestern shooting-wise. And they got Virginia up next, which is going to be some tournament game or something like that. They got Virginia, South Carolina, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, Ohio State. So they have all bigger opponents coming up after DePaul. So if it wasn't already obvious, I do like DePaul in this one. DePaul is coming off an ugly loss of when they were an 18.5-point favorite against Buffalo, and they lost the game outright. Just a horrendous loss. And DePaul shot horribly. 33.3% from the field, 36% from three is fine, but Buffalo 41.2% from three. Buffalo didn't shoot well either, but they did shoot really well from three pretty much. And DePaul was just awful from the field and had 20 turnovers, which is not something you usually see from a home team. So I think DePaul may have been looking ahead to Northwestern because it's a big game for them. I think they just got caught unfocused. I mean, the turnovers are things you can definitely clean up. The shooting was an outlier, and they did out-rebound Buffalo. I'm tempted to add this play, man. I really am. Just because those shooting outliers are almost putting this over the top for me. The money is agreeing. Northwestern's down from 6 to 5. 59% of tickets on Northwestern. 90% of the cash coming in on DePaul. Let's do it. Let's add DePaul. I know, like I said, these last-minute plays that I'm adding have not been very strong. But at least you know that the other plays that are on my board, I actually consider themselves to be stronger. And the strength of my plays has been you know, we've been gauging it correctly, at least as far as that's concerned. DePaul is a 5-point underdog basically at all these spots here. That's the best I see. Sprinkle a little bit on the money line in this one too. But yeah, we're going to add DePaul here. Let's do it. I have to put it all into the system, man. Hopefully the rest of these plays are not going to take too long. We're going with DePaul plus the 5 there. I like it. Let's do it. Money agrees with me on that one. All right. Michigan at TCU. I would look to fade Michigan here. They're ranked 6th in the country. They're obviously going to be the favorite, but they're up from 6 to 9. I mean, even the 9 it almost looks too easy to lay 9 points with, like you're not even having to lay double digits with a number 6 team in the country. 55% of tickets on Michigan, 69% of the cash coming in on TCU. I would agree with fading Michigan here. But the problem is, well, actually, maybe I don't. I forgot about this. Michigan was a 15.5-point favorite against Wake Forest, and Wake Forest actually took them into overtime. So Michigan did actually get a scare here. So maybe actually, all right, maybe I take that back. Michigan did shoot really poorly from three-point range, 16%. Lost the turnover battle. They won the rebounding battle. They were better, they should have had a better result in this game. It was just mistakes, bad three-point shooting. Wake shot really poorly from the field, though, 34.5%. But actually, I think I take that back. Michigan could be in a bounce-back spot coming off such a bad performance as a big favorite. Although this is their first road game, having to go to Texas, to wherever TCU is, Fort Worth maybe. Don't really love that spot. TCU's just kind of on a roll, staying at home. So the travel spot is definitely better for TCU. TCU is coming off a game where they didn't do particularly well either against in-state little brother Lamar. TCU was an 18.5-point favorite, and really, they didn't have a great result here. TCU was sloppy. They lost the turnover battle. They shot well in the game, but I think the turnover battle kind of made the game look a little bit less good. The money is saying TCU here, although I don't really want to fade Michigan when they're off a game where they almost lost the game like that. So as a big favorite. So both teams are actually in positive spots there. That's on ESPN2. We're in the 9 p.m. slate. Next up, I am going to have a play, and this one is real horrendous, man. I mean, we're getting into the real ugly stuff here now. This is, you know what it is. We're going to take the fighting toothpaste, Colgate. I think they're actually the Raiders. Plus 29.5 here. Oh, boy. I know how ugly this looks, and I know it's at Illinois. I know, like, this, it's going to be difficult because, yeah, Illinois, it's a pacing mismatch. I know Illinois likes to play really fast. Colgate likes to play really slow. But at the very least, a slow-paced team can kind of slow the game down a little bit more easily than a fast-paced team can if they're, the worst team. Because to slow it down, you just have to make sure you don't turn the ball over, right? Which, I mean, Illinois is going to, try to up-tempo and try to turn Colgate over for sure. But you hold on to the ball, you get into some half-court rhythm. You could do that to some extent at the very least, but you're getting a lot of points here, and really this is all about the spot. Like, I just think Illinois might not have total focus here and just might kind of want to just get in and get out and maybe not even want to push themselves. So that's the thing. A fast-paced team, when they're in a spot like this where they can win easily, they don't necessarily even have to push the tempo as extremely as they might otherwise. So that's the thing, man. And Texas Tech was able to slow them down a little bit in that game, although we got a winner or a push on Illinois in that game against Texas Tech, depending on which number you got. Illinois, huge win over Texas Tech. I mean, that was, I think, a national TV game. Big game between two teams that were ranked. Huge win. Now they get Colgate. Like, are they really going to be excited about Colgate? When up next, they got some tournament game against Alabama, who's ranked 8th in the country. That's going to be a huge game. That's going to be a game with a lot of up-tempo basketball, man. So if you like points, that's going to be a high total. Illinois and Alabama, that might be a game where you still want to go over, even if with the total being really high. That's going to be crazy. Two up-tempo teams there. Yeah, but it's a sandwich spot, man, between two highly ranked teams. Illinois coming off basically, I think, their early season kind of legitimizing win. I would call it that. Like, when you get that win over a team that's considered to be legit and then you re-legitimize yourselves like Illinois just did there, you're going to be in a bit of a letdown spot coming off of that. Colgate, I know they're off to a bad start. They're 1-2, but they played pretty decently against Michigan State on the road. So, by the way, they did already play a Big Ten team on the road. So they already at least have experience with that. So this will not be their first true road game, even though Michigan State plays slow. But I like that. The fact that Colgate wasn't really intimidated. They played decently. They covered. They only lost by 11 against Michigan State. That's not bad. They came back from that, and they had a bad game at home against Northeastern, but you can kind of explain that because Colgate was coming off that big game against Michigan State. So I think they just didn't play well as a favorite against Northeastern, and they bounced back against Drexel. So I think that's good as well because now Colgate, they got their first win of the season. It was against a Drexel team. It's not that good. So they're not going to be overconfident, but now they finally got their first win of the season. So now that monkey is off their back. We're no longer winless. We can just relax, play this game. So I do like it better for Colgate. We're going to take the points here with this one. You can get 30 now. It looks like it's going up even higher. So take whatever the best number is, man. Illinois up from 29 to 30, whatever. Total, is a bit high, though, in the 164 range here, where it's because Illinois plays really fast. So I am worried about that. It does kind of indicate that Illinois will control the tempo a bit here. But still, I mean, if Colgate's able to kind of keep this game like in the 80s-ish, I think they'll be able to get this done. Like, because then you're just asking them to get into the 50s, basically, which I think they have the ability to do here. So we'll go with Colgate. And Colgate is still at least one of the better Patriot teams, even though, of course, they're not good. But they're 180 in KenPom's rankings, so they're not putrid at the very least. So we'll see. Although their defense is not very good, but they can score okay. Yeah, there's no money line on Colgate, which is interesting. It's kind of an indicator that the books actually don't want you to play the money line on Colgate, I guess, because you could, like, I don't understand why they wouldn't put the money line up on the favorite there. You know what I mean? But it seems like if they hold the money line off the board, it seems like the reason they would do that is because they don't want you to put money on the underdog. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I haven't really seen that before. There's no money line on it. So yeah, I mean, I guess just play the whole bet on the spread in that one. Normally I would say put like 97, 98% of the bet on the money line anyway, or 99%, or excuse me, no, that would be crazy. 99% of the bet on the spread, not on the money line. On that game on the money line, I would say maybe like somewhere between 1 and 3% on the money line on that game would make sense. But in this case, of course, you can't even play the money line right now. Yes, sir. I'm not a Sagittarius, though. All right. North Carolina ranked 18th in the country. They're definitely on the upswing, although I think they're probably overrated at 18th. Ken Baum has them at 27th, but still not bad. Like North Carolina probably on their way to returning to the tournament this year. NC Central, though, is an in-state little brother in the state of North Carolina, so you know they're going to at least get up for this game. They have played NC State and Virginia on the road already, so they are already road battle tested. So they're not really going to be intimidated by this going into this game. North Carolina undefeated. Their one big win is against Kansas. They don't really have anything upcoming yet, though, so it's not really a spot where I'm looking to really fade North Carolina. They're a 35.5-point favorite. Probably the line's a little bit too high on North Carolina. I would probably take the points, but there's not really anything I see there that really makes me want to do anything with that game. The next game I am going to actually make a play, and it's going to be a play on a team that I hate right now. They're on my bad side, so here's their chance to get back on my good side. So you know they're actually going to screw me again here because they screwed me when I went against them. Now they're going to screw me when I'm on them. We're going to take the points with Cal Poly plus the 5.5, even though I actually kind of hate this team because they're one of these teams that just plays an extreme fast tempo, like third in the country or something. I never like teams like that. Basically, a team like that usually doesn't play defense, but I'm going to do it in this spot. Cal Poly, second in tempo in the nation, only to IUPUI. I hate these teams, dude. Cal Poly is actually a little bit better defensively than offensively, believe it or not. Not good either way, though, which is ridiculous. But they're not playing a really great team here. Yes, I know Cal Poly is up there in the luck index at 33, but they face a difficult schedule, 24th in the country, most difficult schedule, so that's at least something. They're playing Montana here. Montana's high in the luck index as well. 43rd, so both teams are considered to be lucky, so that kind of negates that. Montana's faced a difficult schedule as well, 71st, but Cal Poly's faced a more difficult schedule, and Montana is actually better offensively than defensively as well, but Cal Poly's better defensively than offensively. Montana's the opposite. So you're actually getting the better defense getting points here is what I was going to say. As ridiculous as that sounds, because Cal Poly speeds the game up so much. They're 200th right now, according to Ken Baum, in defense. And Montana is 246. And Montana actually plays fast, too, at 99th in tempo. So Montana's not a team that's really going to try to slow down Cal Poly. So they're going to be playing at a pace that Cal Poly likes. So this game also looks like it has over probably written all over it. The total's up to 170.5 if you want to lay that ridiculous total. Actually, this game you can get 7.5 now, man. So let's modify that. It was 5.5 earlier. I hadn't put it into the system yet, though. 7.5. That's even better because you get the key number. Montana's extremely public here. 90% of tickets, 95% of the cash or the money seemingly coming in on them for now up to 7.5, but it could be a false move where sometimes when the line comes out close to like the key number is 7, sometimes professional bettors will throw money on the favorite when they don't actually want them just to get the number through that key number. Maybe they did that, but now that you're getting the 7.5, which is a key number because 7 is where teams stop potentially fouling because it's the 3 possession threshold. I like Cal Poly in this one, man. Dude, these shows take so much out of me, man. I hate this. I'm not even on to the other sports yet. Jeez. Cal Poly, they just, they came in within the number last time. I don't think they really should have against Colorado State. Colorado State was an 18.5-point favorite. The shooting percentages were about even. Like Colorado State, it was a close game statistically, kind of, but Colorado State had chances to do this, man. I mean, Colorado State, they were winning by, what was it? They're winning by 21 here with 2:46 left in the game. So they had the chance to cover the, I gave them out at 17.5. It closed 18.5, but they were winning by 21 with 2.5 minutes left, man, and they wound up only winning by 14. That's kind of brutal. Colorado State just stopped scoring. Like, they didn't score for the next 2 minutes at the end. Like, they probably should have covered that. But Cal Poly, it wasn't really that close. I know it's their third straight road game, which is difficult, and I know it almost looks sandwichy because Colorado State and Utah are the opponents that surround this game, and yeah, those games are against bigger opponents, but I kind of think Cal Poly is going to bounce back in this one, and this is also a spot where I'm fading Montana, which I'll show you in a minute. And at the very least, Cal Poly is battle-tested because they played USC already, beat Seattle, but that was a fluke, but Seattle's not that bad. Played Colorado State. They're somewhat battle-tested here. They're playing Montana. Montana's got the better record, which is why the public is on them, and they kind of know the name Montana. Montana made the tournament last year. They're one of the better teams in the Big Sky. I'm not going to disagree with that, obviously. But Montana, they have not faced that difficult of a schedule, to be honest. They did go on the road to Stanford, but I don't think Stanford is that good. And then they continued their road trip, and they went into UNLV, and they were 10.5-point underdogs, and Montana upset UNLV, man. And Montana shot ridiculously in the game, 55.4% from the field. UNLV was terrible from three-point range, 23.1% from three. Yes, Montana did out-rebound them, but still, Montana went into the Thomas and Mack and pulled off the upset of UNLV. Now they're coming back home off of that, and I know they haven't lost at home, but they haven't played a Division I team at home yet. And yeah, sometimes you will get up for your first home game against a Division I team, but how can they do that when they just upset UNLV? And up next, they got Texas A&M, which is an SEC team, and that's their biggest game remaining, except for Louisville later in the season. That is a huge game, so I think this is a sandwich spot. We're going to fade Montana here, man, even though I don't know if the spot is necessarily great for Cal Poly, but they're continuing to put in effort, and I think they're going to put in an effort here in this game. Hopefully that is the case. So yeah, we're going to do that one as well. Maybe that's my weakest that I have here, but that is a play. Georgia Tech is at Georgia. Big game between the two teams. Georgia Tech considers themselves to be the little brother here at this point. Georgia up from 14 to 14.5 with juice. I would probably take the points if I was going to play this. Georgia Tech actually, I think is actually, neither team. I was going to say Georgia Tech probably has faced a more difficult schedule. They have not, but neither team has faced really anybody good yet. So both teams are 3-0. Georgia's definitely the better team, but it is possible that Georgia Tech comes to play in that one. All right, let's try to get through this, man. Providence at Colorado. Is this one of my plays? I think it actually is. Yes, it is. Trying to get through all these games, man. We're going to take the points with Colorado here. Colorado +1 or whatever you can get on this. It's basically a pick the winner situation here. I want to fade Providence in this spot. Colorado's actually becoming the favorite here. Don't see the cash percentages yet, but Colorado's up from a pick 'em to a pick 'em with juice. I mean, if you want to lay the money line on Colorado, that's also an option, of course, here. I like Colorado to get this thing done. I don't like the spot for Providence. Everybody kind of knows the name Providence, even though Colorado made some noise like a couple years ago. Providence has been kind of the more consistent team that has made the tournament over the last few years multiple times, although neither of these teams, I think, made it last year. Providence, their one time where they got battle tested was a neutral site game against Virginia Tech, and they lost the game in overtime. Virginia Tech's not exactly great. I actually don't know if they're better than Colorado or not. They are. Virginia Tech's 50th in the country. Colorado's 65th. But, yeah, Providence, they played competitively in that game, but they lost that game. Now, this is their first true road game of the season, man, and Providence having to go into elevation. I think that's difficult for them to do, man. It's a single-game road trip out there. They're coming off beating Pennsylvania and scoring over 100 points. Providence has scored over 100 in their last two games, so they look good because of that right now, but this looks like a bad spot, man. First true road game of the season in an environment that might mess with them because it is high elevation. Colorado has more time off, I think, because they haven't played since November 8th, Saturday. Although usually I don't like to play a team that has extra rest when they're off to a good start, which Colorado is. They're 2-0, but look at their last game. 16.5-point favorites. This was one of my losses. I laid the points with Colorado in this one against Eastern Washington. Colorado came close to losing this game, man. Just absolutely ridiculous. And the reason was Eastern Washington shot 59.7% from the field and 56.3% from three. I mean, come on, man. That is a massive outlier. And I know Colorado shot well in the game as well, but Eastern Washington was just like, it's so good that it's not even repeatable what they did offensively in that game, and they actually still fell short. Colorado won the game, but now that Colorado escaped in that game, it was a bit of a fluke for Eastern Washington. I think Colorado's gonna show up after that, man. After you almost lose as a favorite, you're gonna be drilling yourselves. You're gonna be focused. I mean, they're playing a Big East team here. You got to think they're gonna be focused on this game. So I like Colorado. We'll take Colorado in that one. I think the money is agreeing with me on that. Baylor is playing Tarleton State. Baylor looks like they're in a sandwich spot. I don't have a play on this one, but I would look to fade Baylor here. Baylor just beat Washington, Big Ten team. Don't know how good Washington actually is, but that's still a pretty big win for Baylor. Now they got in-state little brother Tarleton coming in, and Baylor does have Creighton and St. John's coming up after this. Oh no!
Yeah, inside I want to kill myself.
I need some more drops, but that's going to be the drop that drop defines my show, man, because it's still Better Off Dead. Did I say? I think I said Better Off Dead at the beginning of the show too. Sorry, it's Toadstool Sports. But yeah, Tarleton State, you know they're going to get up for it at least just because it is Baylor, an in-state little brother. Baylor has bigger games surrounding this game. It is a sandwich spot. Baylor likes to play slow as well, so laying a lot of points with Baylor, not really a great idea. Taking the points against a slow-paced team does make sense. The problem I have is just Tarleton, just like last year, KenPom has him high in his luck index at 36 in luck. So I do worry about that. Tarleton does also like to play slow, so they're going to be at a pace that they like because Baylor will also play slow against them. But I just don't know that I could do it given that KenPom does have Tarleton listed as a luckier team, which they were last year too. So I knew eventually Tarleton was going to fall apart last year. Like, they looked way too good in conference last year. Baylor's down from 24.5 to 24 here, so the money looks like it is taking the points with Tarleton. I won't do it, but Tarleton, they at least have some momentum right now as well, off of beating a couple of weaker opponents at home. A&M CC, actually not that bad. In the Southland, at least. And then they beat Merrimack, who's not very good. But they at least have some momentum now. They won't be intimidated being on the road, at least, because they did play at SMU and LSU on the road. So we'll see. That one is not on my card, but sort of a lean to Tarleton. Mississippi Valley State, our favorite Delta Devils there against Utah Tech. This is the loser bracket in this Hawaii tournament here. Not surprising, these two teams that are clearly the two worst teams in that four-team event out there both lost, and now they're playing in the loser bracket. And Mississippi Valley State is so bad that Utah Tech is a huge favorite against them, up to 28. Mississippi Valley State, man, I mean, I don't know why they don't just move to like Division II or something. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, they have a pretty funny social media presence, but that's basically what they do now. Do I want to lay that many points with Utah Tech? No. I don't know what I would want to do with that game, man. I mean, again, both teams lost in the first games in that Hawaii thing. It's just it's hilarious that Mississippi Valley State is so bad that Utah Tech is basically an insurmountable favorite. One of the biggest games actually probably the biggest game on the entire slate is number 5 Arizona at number 15 UCLA in a former Pac-12 rivalry. I think these two teams might still play every year, maybe. Arizona's ranked 5th in the country, UCLA 15th in the country. KenPom has Arizona 11th, and he has UCLA 32nd. So he actually has both these teams a little bit overrated. He does still have Arizona, as the better team, which is why Arizona is the favorite here, even though they're on the road. Arizona up from 1.5 to 2 here. It was up to 3, I think, and now it's gone down a little bit. So I think it hit that number 3, and now money started coming in UCLA. 69% of tickets on Arizona, 69% of the cash on UCLA. Money looks like it's coming in on UCLA here. Arizona, they have a big win against Florida, which everybody does remember. But since then, they haven't exactly been, that's their one big test. They haven't face a true road game yet. That game was at Las Vegas, and Arizona kind of had a pretty good contingent in that game, so they had a big crowd at that game. This game is not at UCLA, but it is in Inglewood, California, so this is basically a semi-home game for UCLA. It's in the LA Hall of Fame series. So LA is obviously going to have a lot of fans there. I mean, Arizona will travel, but it's going to be pretty much, I think, a home crowd for UCLA in that game. So it's going to be like the most hostile crowd by far that Arizona's faced so far this year. So that's not easy. UCLA just hasn't been tested yet, man. And they didn't look good against Eastern Washington. That game was close. UCLA actually hasn't looked good so far. So Arizona is more battle-tested than UCLA. So I'm not rushing to take the points with UCLA here by any means. As far as what these teams have done, usually Arizona's the team that plays fast tempo, and they are. And usually UCLA plays a slow tempo. Oh, they do. They're 352nd in tempo. So that is one reason to maybe look towards UCLA is if UCLA, they're not at home, but they're semi-home. If they're able to slow the pace down and control the pace, that will throw Arizona out of their element. So UCLA might have a little bit of a pacing advantage there, so we'll see. North Texas at St. Mary's. I did mention that I was looking to fade North Texas here because they took their first loss of the season. It was on the road at Oregon State, and the way they lost that game was awful. They blew a lead in the game. They almost had the win over Oregon State, which would have been a big win for them because it's a former Pac-12 team, and they lost because they called a timeout when they didn't have any left, and I guess it was a tied game at that point, and that's a technical foul, and Oregon State got the lead because of that. That's how they won the game. Oregon State won on technical fouls because North Texas didn't realize they didn't have any timeouts left, and they tried to call a timeout. That is a brutal way to lose that game, and now they have to go to St. Mary's, who is a good team, man. So I think it's a bad spot for North Texas, but I do think they still will try to get up for this game because everybody knows St. Mary's is good. They always make the tournament. St. Mary's, I mean, they're just on a roll right now. I mean, they've looked good so far, but they haven't really faced anybody great yet. But they're definitely a force, St. Mary's is. I would lay the points with St. Mary's if I was going to do this. I'm not going to get there with this one. They're up from 11 to 15, though, so you've lost a lot of value on St. Mary's here. I think the 11 opener was actually close to where it should have been, and this total is unbelievably low at 130 because you have two teams that like to slow the game down to like a complete crawl. So the under does make sense in this game, although the total at 130 is so low. But these teams are two of the slowest teams in the country. I mean, it's going to be ugly. 90% of tickets, 100% of the cash on St. Mary's, but I don't really want to lay points like with a number like that with a game that you know is going to be really, really slow on both sides, too. I don't love that. If you forced me, I would still lay the points to St. Mary's as far as the side is concerned, but yeah, I'm not going to get involved there. We do have, I would say Cal Baptist is in a bit of a letdown spot because they just went to UC Irvine, who's been one of the staples of the Big West for a while, and I think Cal Baptist considers UC Irvine to be a big brother in the state of California. Cal Baptist was, I think, about an 8-point underdog, in that game. Won the game in an upset. Now they're coming back home. Looks like a letdown spot for Cal Baptist. They do have another California team up next in UC Riverside. So they're in kind of a California sandwich here, which probably has guacamole on it, avocado on it, or some shit. But do I want to put money? Would I recommend actually putting money on Western Illinois? Probably not. I mean, Western Illinois they're really, really bad, man. I can't get there with it. Although they are at least battle tested. They played Iowa on the road. They played all road games so far, Western Illinois, and they are at least already out in California because they played Cal State Bakersfield in their last game. So they're at least adjusted to the time zone. But Cal Baptist up from 13 to 14 now through with juice, but I would take the points with Western Illinois. Oh, sorry, Jeffrey. Thanks for catching some of the show, man. There are going to be more plays I'm going to give out here in hockey and NBA, and I think one more college basketball. I think I'm done, but I will have more plays in the other sports here. But thanks for hanging out, man. I know this is going long. I don't love it either. I don't want it to, but that's just what's happening. Gonzaga is at Arizona State, late night, ESPN2, 11 p.m. Gonzaga, they got to be feeling pretty good right now because they beat Oklahoma at home by double digits, and then they beat Creighton by almost 30 points at home. Huge win in a ranked matchup. Now they're going to play their first true road game at Arizona State. Yeah, I mean, could be a letdown spot for Gonzaga here. Arizona State hasn't been tested at all yet, so I do worry about that. But Arizona State's at least going to get up for this game. How good is Arizona State? I don't know, but I mean, I would lean to taking the points with them. I do think it could be a letdown spot for Gonzaga. Gonzaga did go up from 11 to 13.5 on the line here, but they're public, 65% of tickets, only 59% of the cash on them. I would take the points with Arizona State. I do think this will be more of a fast-paced game in general, though, because both teams like to play fast. So Arizona State's not one of those teams that's going to be able to slow down Gonzaga. I don't think, although maybe actually they might try to because they don't play as fast as Gonzaga. But you lean to taking the points with Arizona State, but I'm not going to get there with that one. Washington at Washington State. If this is a big rivalry, of course, Washington's coming off their first loss of the season at Baylor, and now they're having to come back to the Pacific Coast. Not a great spot for Washington. Could be in a bit of a hangover spot. You lose your first game of the season. It was a big game against Baylor, who's still considered to be a really good basketball program. They're a Big 12 team, although Washington's in the Big 10, but still. Now Washington's coming back to the Pacific Coast. They got to play Washington State, who considers themselves to be the little brother of the two of them, because Washington State got orphaned in the Pac-12, and now they're in the WCC. So I think Washington State plays with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And they played last year against Washington, couldn't get it done. Washington beat them last year. So Washington State has a little bit of revenge motive here as well. I think Washington State is going to show up. And they finally got a win after they had to come back home from the East Coast after they played the double Koberger scenario. Davidson was in the double Koberger against Brian Koberger's two alma maters, Washington State and DeSales. I still don't get how that became Davidson's schedule. Very, very strange. Conspiracy brain going off on that one. But yes, Washington State returned back home. They got a win over a pretty good St. Thomas team. St. Thomas, definitely, I think, the best team in the Summit, which I thought they were last year, and they didn't get it done. But we'll see what happens this year. That's a pretty good win, and it ends Washington State's losing momentum because they finally got a win. I think they will show up for this game. I would take the points with Washington State. Washington's down from 10 to 9 here. 83% of tickets, 85% of the cash on Washington State. So it looks like Washington State is public, but I don't know, man. I don't see why they would be public, so I doubt that they will be. But yeah, I mean, I would take the points with them. And then the latest game right at midnight or 11:59, so it's still considered to be today. Hawaii and Manhattan in the winner's bracket in the Hawaii tournament. This is for the championship in whatever this tournament is called. Hawaii is, of course, at home, and of course, they set themselves up with a bunch of weak opponents here, so they're a big favorite here. Both of these teams won, of course, in the Rainbow Classic. Of course, Manhattan played a pretty ugly game, though, against Utah Tech. Manhattan was actually the underdog. That's how bad Manhattan is this year. Hawaii's up from 14 to 15.5, 67% of tickets, 96% of the cash on them. I'm not going to fade Hawaii here, even though Manhattan is now adjusted to the time zone and the venue and whatever. It's still on Hawaii's home floor. They're still the better team. So, I mean, these teams are facing a real bad. I would probably lay it with Hawaii in that one, but, I mean, I'm not going to come close to touching that. So those are my 5 college plays. Let's get to the NHL. We have a short NHL card here. Pittsburgh and Nashville kick it off at 2 p.m. Eastern in the afternoon because they're playing in Sweden. So I think both teams will try to get up for this game. Both teams, I think, are actually in positive spots. I mean, they both teams are coming off losses. Pittsburgh's on a losing streak. Their losses were more tolerable as they lost at New Jersey by 1 in a shootout and then to the Kings by 1. Pittsburgh still kind of with a, I don't know, I would say they have iffy goaltending, though, and they're still not as good as their record looks, I don't think. But I don't think Nashville is very good either. Pittsburgh, of course, having extra days off to travel, I think that's helpful because you just get out of there, just go on the road. You can focus on hockey, try to break your losing momentum. But the same thing applies to Nashville. Nashville was on a losing streak as well. They've been playing pretty poor. They've lost 5 games in a row, so going out on the road might help them even more. They got blown out in their last game at the Rangers, so going to be good for them, I think, to just go far, far away as well. Pittsburgh is lined as the better team, though, and the money's coming in on them. The spot is so similar, though, and the teams are probably going to have similar motivation here. I think probably you do have to agree with going with the better team, which is Pittsburgh, even though I don't think either of these teams are good. So there you go, Sweden. This is what the U.S. has to offer you. Two teams that are not that good. 81% of tickets, 97% of the cash on Pittsburgh. They're up from -107 to -120. I won't disagree with Pittsburgh there, but certainly not something I want to play. Vancouver is going to be at Carolina. Vancouver's starting a road trip on a losing streak, and I talk about how that sometimes is good. They've had multiple days off, too. When you're on a losing streak, sometimes it's good to just get out of home, focus on hockey. They should be focused because Carolina's good, even though Vancouver did just lose to Colorado and Winnipeg. Those teams are also good, but having multiple days off, starting a road trip, to me, it seems like a positive spot for Vancouver. Carolina's been good. Carolina did just lose a win streak, though, and that was the game I gave out Washington on the show. Big game, and Carolina lost the game, losing a 4-game win streak. So sometimes that will hang you over a little bit when you lose a win streak and you lose to a decent team in what was a pretty big game. Luckily for us, that was a winner on the show. Nice win from Washington. It was playoff revenge for Washington in that game, too, if I'm not mistaken. Now Carolina's got Vancouver here, and up tomorrow, Carolina has to play Edmonton. So that could be a look ahead. I mean, we know Edmonton's just been, they've been good, obviously. They've won the Western Conference 2 years in a row. So Carolina may not have full focus in this game against Vancouver. So I do lean to Vancouver, although the money came in on Carolina up from -230 to -270. 89% of tickets, 95% of the cash on Carolina. Looks like the cash is on Carolina, but they are public. If you want to play this game, I would probably take the Vancouver puck line in that one, plus the 1.5. And see how it goes. Philadelphia at St. Louis. This game has almost made my card. You know what? This is going to make my card because the market has shifted. Fuck it. We're adding another play here. I'm going to add this play. Oh, boy. You know what it is. We like pain. We all like pain here. Crap, we're going to have to lay a money line price here of -135 with the St. Louis Blues. Hopefully we're not singing the blues after this, but we're going to go with it. St. Louis Blues -135. I'm adding this on the fly. I was almost going to add it, and the market read was kind of like keeping me away, but now, even though St. Louis did initially drop from -145 to -133, we see the market shifting now, although I know it's early. Some of these early morning market reads, you don't want to put too much weight into them, but 59% of the tickets are on Philly, 77% of the cash coming in on the Blues. So the money is on St. Louis. The price on St. Louis is almost telling you, the odds makers are telling you St. Louis is actually the better team. And when you look at these two teams record-wise, it's like, why would you want to lay a favorite price with a 6-8-3 team against an 8-5-3 team? Like, it almost looks too easy to take Philadelphia, the team with the better record and the better history, as an underdog here. But I'm saying that you should not do that. So this is one of those games with a misleading line here. Both teams Philadelphia's been mediocre on the road. They're basically 500 with one overtime loss as well. St. Louis has been pretty mediocre at home as well. So you don't really have a huge home-road dichotomy here in play. So that's not really something that worries me here. I don't think this is a good spot for Philadelphia. So that's kind of the crux of this. Philadelphia is coming off 2 overtime games, playing Ottawa and Edmonton both into overtime. Now, yes, they start a road trip, and usually I say a team is focused to start a road trip, but with Philadelphia coming off playing Edmonton that close in that battle, I actually think this is more of a hangover spot here. And their road trip is 2 games, and one of them is tomorrow against Dallas. And if they're going to focus on one of these games, you know which one it's going to be. It's going to be Dallas. I haven't looked to see who the goalie is going to be in this game for Philly, but I don't think it matters that much. Vladar is their better goalie, but I just don't really love Philadelphia's goaltending in general. I don't think it's a good spot. I think it's a sandwich spot. I think they might overlook St. Louis. The line is misleading. St. Louis just beat Calgary, and they have multiple days off, but I think that's more of just that was kind of a get-right spot, beating Calgary, so I think that gives them a little bit of momentum coming into this one. They're below 500. I don't think they're really going to overlook anybody. With multiple days off, Binnington should be back in net here, so you should be getting their better goalie here because he's basically been playing 2 games in a row when he does play, so I expect that to be the case. Maybe that's why the money started shifting as well. Maybe it was the goalie announcement. I don't have that site up right now, but we're going to do it. St. Louis money line. And then the final play here is going to be one that's going to be a bit of a weird way to play this one. Well, I mean, not for me. I mean, I do stuff like this all the time. This next play, we're playing a lot of big underdogs today, man. But this is actually going to be a big favorite that I want to play here, which is Utah. And let me just figure out, let me get this straight. How did I play this one again? Okay. I mean, you can do this on the puck line, although I don't love puck line plays in hockey. So the way I'm going to do this is a split bet where you put about 2/3 of it on the money line, even though it is expensive at minus 200, and the rest of it on the plus 124 on the minus 1.5 puck line here for Utah. And it comes out to about a minus 130 or so favorite if you do it that way. And, of course, if you do it this way, if they win by exactly one, you'll push the bet. So you do need them to win by multiple goals, which I know is an ask in hockey, but I hate the spot for the Islanders, dude. The Islanders look a little bit too good right now, 9-6-2. I think they're a little bit worse than that, but look at what they've done in their last 3 games. 3 road games, and what they did is they went to the Rangers and shut them out in the New York rivalry there. That was a win for us on the show. Then they went to New Jersey and they beat them 2 in overtime. And the Devils have been good this year. So the Islanders beat their 2 geographic rivals on the road. Then they didn't suffer a letdown. Last night they went into Vegas, shifting time zones, going to Vegas, and they beat them in overtime, shockingly. I don't know how this even happened because I liked Vegas in that game, man. Didn't give it out as a play, luckily, but Vegas had more shots in the game. They were the way more physical team in the game, although the Islanders did win the face-off battle. But Vegas destroyed them in hits, so it looked like the Islanders are kind of a finesse team in that game, which I don't particularly like. That means they got beaten up by Vegas in that game. Now they got to go to Utah, and usually, Utah, I mean, because they have a good record, you normally would be focused on them, but I think this is the least of all these games here. It's a back-to-back, so probably Rittich will be back in net here for the Islanders. And with Rittich, they've lost 2 of their last 3 games with him in net. He's been okay, but he's not as good as Sorokin. I assume he's going to be the goalie here. And the Islanders have Colorado and Dallas up next, so they might actually overlook Utah here because Utah's still, a newcomer, and Utah's been actually fading now to the point where now they're 10-7. Utah, though, they broke their losing streak in their last game on Wednesday, so they have a day off, and they're staying at home, and that was their return home spot, right? I thought it was a bad spot for them. They still got the win over Buffalo, so that kind of tells me something that even in a bad spot, they put together a pretty good performance, and I don't think it was misleading either. I think they pretty much dominated. So that's good. That breaks that losing momentum for them, so I think this is a positive spot, even though they do have Anaheim up next, but I don't know if they're going to overlook a winning Islander team here, man. So I like Utah. We're going to go with the Mammoth in this one with the way that I recommended. They're up from minus 200 to minus 202 on the money line here. And 69% of tickets, 88% of the cash on Utah. So the money is coming in on Utah. That's going to be the play there. All right. Now we got to do NBA. Oh, God. There's so many games today, man. And then there are a couple of college football games. NBA, let's try to get through this. Miami is at the Knicks. This is not one of my plays. The Knicks did just lose at home to Orlando. Now they got to face Miami. I mean, that did break a win streak, though. The Knicks had won 5 in a row. So sometimes when you lose a win streak, it does hang you over. How focused are they going to be against this Miami team? I don't know. Adebayo and Hero are both still out for another game or 2 here. So they're going to be out. The Knicks are going to be without Jalen Brunson in this game, though. So it's going to be an injured player spot for the Knicks. That's something to be aware of. He played in their last game, and now he's out. So injured player spot, that means you're going to get extra value on the Knicks, and it means the Knicks are going to show up for this game because they know they have to compensate for Jalen Brunson being out. But could be a hangover spot after losing their win streak. For Miami, though, Miami's coming off a couple of big games against Cleveland and now going to New York for a single game at New York, and then they have to play the Knicks again at home. Pretty strange scheduling here. Miami has to fly up the coast just for this game. It's kind of a weird spot for both teams. I don't love the spot for either team. I'm going to lean to the Knicks just because I think the injured player spot puts this over the top. The Knicks are up from 4.5 to 5.5 here with juice. 63% of tickets, 69% of the cash on them. I'll agree with it and lean towards laying the points with the Knicks, but I don't want to touch it. Next up, you know what I'm about to do, baby. Let me see what the best number is on this. Looks like 14.5. Looks like it might be out there on this, although 14.5, 14, 13.5, there's not a huge difference in the NBA when you get up into that realm. Here you go, baby. You knew it was going to come. The Brooklyn Nets plus the 14.5 against the Orlando Magic. We're going to do it. The Magic look like they dropped a little bit from 14 to 13.5. I think 14s are still pretty predominant out there right now. 85% of tickets, 96% of the cash on the Magic for now. But I think the Magic are public, so at least you're fading that sentiment. I don't know that the money's really coming in on them. Money's coming in on the under as well, so that's a good sign for taking points, and it's not a high total. So maybe Orlando is actually not playing as fast tempo now, man, because they've been trying this fast tempo thing. Hasn't been working, although they've been better recently. But they're coming off beating the Knicks on the road, man. I mean, come on. That's a huge win for Orlando. And now they're coming back home off of that, and they got to play the lowly Brooklyn Nets, who might be the worst team in the NBA. And then up next, they got to travel and play Houston and then Golden State after that. This is a sandwich spot, man. I mean, I don't think that there's any doubt about that. I don't see how they really get up for this game against Brooklyn. So hopefully we can get this one. Brooklyn has been... they've actually been decent for us. I mean, I think we had one game where I think they should have covered that they didn't. Which one was that? I forget. No, maybe I'm wrong. Did they get blown out in a game where I played them? Maybe it was against Philadelphia. I don't know. But Brooklyn, they got the win for us. One other time that we played them as a really big underdog on the road, actually, we got the win outright against Indiana. So I'm not saying they're going to win outright here, but hopefully we get a win here. Brooklyn has actually had multiple days off, and they're starting to travel as well. But that's a better spot for them because you're losing at home. One of the best things you can do is just have a little bit of rest, break that losing momentum, and then go out on the road. That's what they're doing here. So I think it's a positive spot for Brooklyn here. I think they should be focused here. We'll do it. We'll take the points with the Brooklyn Nets. I know it's horrendous. I told you this is going to be really, really ugly. Philadelphia at Detroit is a big game here. Philadelphia is coming off beating Boston, unfortunately. That's a big win for Philadelphia. Now they have the single game against Detroit, but it is revenge for Philadelphia, quick revenge, because they did just lose to Detroit at home the game before the Boston game. So now with a couple of days off, I think it's a better spot for Philadelphia in a way because they get to go out and try to get revenge against Detroit here. Detroit at 10-2, I think that makes them look better than they really are right now. Detroit's coming off that big win, which I gave out as my one play on Wednesday in the NBA winner on what was not a good Wednesday, but NBA was good. Detroit got the win against Chicago. That was revenge for Detroit. That was part of that handicap. They were able to get the revenge for Chicago beating them in their opening game. Detroit now has that win over Chicago. Could be in for a little bit of a letdown spot here, man. Detroit, against Philadelphia here. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they might still get up for Philadelphia, but again, they did just beat them on the road. So I think the spot sets up better for Philadelphia here. And the other thing is, the other reason I like Philadelphia is remember the other part of the handicap against Chicago the other day was that Cade Cunningham was out for that game. So I said Detroit's in the injured player spot. You're going to get more value on Detroit. They're going to show up. Like, they're going to play well for that one game because they know they have to play hard without Cunningham. That's what happened. They did that. Well, now, and by the way, Chicago actually had Giddey, I think, coming back in that game too. So it was a reverse injured player spot on the other side. So really a rare spot where I really like Detroit in that game. Now, Cunningham looks like he is coming back tonight after he missed that one game. So now the Detroit got the win and played really hard without him. Now they're in the reverse injured player spot. So now he comes back. Now you're going to get less value on Detroit because the star player is coming back. So the line might over-adjust to him coming back, and the team might take their foot off the gas a little bit, thinking, hey, we just beat Chicago without our star player, and we already beat Philadelphia on the road. We can definitely beat Philadelphia at home. I think they might get a little bit overconfident here, man. So I like the Sixers. Pistons are down from 5.5 to 4.5 here. 58% of tickets, 70% of the cash on Detroit right now. Don't know if I buy that cash percentage there. I would take the points with the Sixers if I was going to play it, which I am not going to. Portland is playing at Houston here. Portland did get a win against New Orleans to break a little bit of a loss streak they had. Should be a positive spot for Portland after that. Maybe some new momentum here. Houston, they're going to get up for Houston. Houston, not really in a bad spot either, though. I mean, Houston returned home from a road trip. Didn't even matter. They beat Washington up anyway in a return home spot. They probably will get up for Portland because Portland's been playing pretty well this year. Houston is up from 7.5 to 8 here. 79% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them. So the money is kind of indicating on Houston. I don't really disagree with it. I mean, when you have two teams that you think might both be focused here, the better team tends to win out. So I'm not going to really disagree with Houston, but I don't have a strong opinion. The Charlotte Hornets are at Milwaukee here. This is a bit of a zigzag spot for Milwaukee as Charlotte just beat Milwaukee at home. Charlotte was able to beat Milwaukee here by 11. But remember, or maybe not remember, but I don't even know if I mentioned this, but Giannis did not play in this game for Milwaukee. So Milwaukee was without their star player. So Milwaukee was definitely at a disadvantage for that reason. So now that Charlotte did beat them, I do think Milwaukee will show up in this game because they did just lose to Charlotte. So it's a bit of a zigzag spot now where Milwaukee lost that game. Now they have the adjustments to make in the game. With Giannis out, Milwaukee was a 2.5-point favorite, which would indicate that if he comes back, which I believe he will be here, they should probably be somewhere in the realm of about a 7-point favorite in this one. They're actually 9.5, though. They're actually down from 10 to 9.5. So I think the line has over-adjusted to Giannis coming back, which is why I can't really get involved in this game. 78% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the Bucks. So the money seems to be indicating on the Bucks. If Giannis was still out, I mean, maybe I would consider playing it on the zigzag because Milwaukee, after they lost, at Charlotte, you got to think they're going to bounce back from that, and they're going to want to zigzag that and play well. But they do have to face the Lakers tomorrow and then Cleveland. So there is a little bit of a look-ahead component here. And with Giannis coming back, you know what I always say, again, it's the reverse injured player spot. So with Giannis coming back, the line's going to over-adjust a bit, so I just don't really think there's line value there. And Milwaukee, maybe they ease up a little bit because they know their star player is back, although I don't really expect them to ease up necessarily because they're playing the Charlotte team again that just beat them. So, I mean, I kind of still lean to laying it with Milwaukee, but at that price, I don't think you could really do it. So, and there is that injured player component that I do not love. All right, Sacramento at Minnesota. Guess what, baby? Here's the other play here. Sacramento, I call the ball sacks. Their abbreviation is SAC, and they play with a ball. So we're gonna go with the ball sacks plus the 12 here. Let me make sure that my first play isn't early because hopefully, all of my plays are tonight because I'm like, oh god, I got to put all these friggin' Instagram videos. All right. Yes, we're going to take the points of Sacramento in this game. We're going to fade Minnesota, even though it's the NBA Cup, whatever. I ignore that completely. I don't like the spot for the T-Wolves here. They're very public, 92% of the tickets, only 83% of the cash. The money is seemingly agreeing with taking the points with the Kings here. T-Wolves up a little bit from 11.5 to 11.5 with juice, but I think the real money is coming back on Sacramento. 12, 11.5, whichever of those numbers. Not a big difference between the two. Sacramento, they've been playing real ugly. I know, they're 3-9. They're not that good, but they're going to be playing with some fire, I think, just because they have been playing poorly. I know it's a third game in 4 days, but the first 2 games were at home. They just got wrecked on their homestand, dude. They lost their last 4 games of the homestand, but it was against Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Denver. Those were all really good teams. And then they did lose to Atlanta, embarrassingly. Without Trae Young, Atlanta beat them by 33 at home. And when that's your last home game, one of the best things that you can do is go out on the road, man. Just forget about that. So I think this is a positive spot for the Kings because they were playing real bad at home. Now they just get to forget about it. Go focus on Minnesota. Oh, and by the way, Minnesota was one of the teams that just beat them on that homestand, and boy, did they beat them. 144 to 117. Ooh. Oh, boy, that's bad. So Sacramento is in a little bit of a revenge spot here, but also more importantly, Minnesota might just overlook Sacramento completely. Because if Minnesota just beat Sacramento by that much in Sacramento, they're not going to take Sacramento very seriously in this game, man. And I think Minnesota will show up for this. Now, Sabonis has been hurt for a bit, and of course, he is the best player for the Kings, averaging a double-double. I almost put on my Sabonis jersey. He's questionable tonight. But if he is out, I actually still like Sacramento because it becomes an injured player spot again because he did play in their last game. So they're going to know they have to step it up even further if their star player's not there. So I do like that. And by the way, let's look at the Kings' schedule here for a minute here. They between the 3rd and the 6th, yeah, they actually played 2 games without Sabonis. And guess what that game was against Minnesota in that game on the 9th? Because I believe, Sabonis, let's look at him again here. Yeah, he had not played since the 3rd against Denver. He got injured, and the game that he came back was that game against Minnesota. That's what I always talk about, the reverse injured player spot. Sabonis came back. I think it was maybe a bit of a chemistry issue incorporating him back in the lineup. Maybe the Kings kind of took it a little bit more lightly because they knew the star player was back. Yeah, so I think that had some impact on the game, even though I know Sacramento's just been playing real ugly since then. But I don't think you really expected them to beat teams like a team like the Nuggets. And then, I don't know, man, maybe they were just got caught in a bad spot there against Atlanta. I don't know what that was. But we still haven't even talked about the Minnesota side of this. I mean, I don't really love the Minnesota side of this. They did have a bunch of time off, but when you're winning like they have 3 straight wins, I don't think that's a good thing, man, because that can hurt your momentum. And Minnesota scored 120 or more in all 3. But the teams they beat were Utah, Sacramento, and Utah again. So looking at Minnesota, I mean, they have not actually played well in stepping up in class, although I know Sacramento's bad. But again, I think they might take them lightly because they just beat Sacramento. But look at Minnesota's. I'm not going to say Minnesota's bad. They're certainly not. But every time they've stepped up in class so far this year, they've lost. They lost to the Lakers. They lost to Denver. They lost to the Lakers again. They lost to the Knicks. Who were their 7 wins against? Portland was probably their best win on the road. Then they beat Indiana, Charlotte, Brooklyn, Utah, Sacramento, and Utah again. So this is actually not an impressive resume for Minnesota right now, man. Again, they're a good team, obviously, but the resume just hasn't been great so far. Now I think they might have their momentum slowed down by having too many days off. They are having to return home from elevation where they've been away since Sunday at least. So maybe a little bit of a return home component here. Or maybe you get a little bit distracted, especially when you're playing against a team that you just annihilated. And up next tomorrow, they got to play the Denver Nuggets, man, who they lost to already this year. And it's the Denver Nuggets. I mean, they're like the class of the Western Conference, pretty much one of the best teams in the Western Conference and the NBA. So you know that's got to be a pretty big look ahead there, man. So this is a bad spot for Minnesota. We'll take the points with the Kings in that game. All right. Trying to finish this off here. Lakers are at New Orleans here. I know I've been talking about every single game. It's just what I do, man. I give you all the info. Lakers are coming off kind of getting embarrassed at Oklahoma City. I know that was a big game on ESPN. I put it on for a little bit, and I just laughed because I love to hate the Lakers, baby. As a Celtics fan, you know, I can't stand the Lakers. Don't like them. Great for me to see them get just embarrassed by the Thunder. Although the Thunder are really good. The Thunder are good at home. I actually thought the Lakers would be able to hang in that game. They did not. So I could see it going both ways, man. On the one hand, maybe they're going to be in an embarrassed mood and come out with some fire here. On the other hand, I mean, it was a game where they stepped up their game to play against the Thunder and got up emotionally for it and fell way short. So I could see them maybe struggling in this game for that reason. They do play Milwaukee tomorrow, which is a bigger game, so maybe there's a little bit of a look ahead here. New Orleans obviously has been very unimpressive so far, but Zion Williamson has been out for a lot of their games, and I think he's out again tonight. New Orleans is in a bit of a better spot because they did return home from a road trip, lost the first game back home against Portland. Usually when that happens, you're in a better spot the next game, and it is the Lakers coming into their place, so you know they're at least going to get up for the game. So I would actually lean to taking the points of the Pelicans here. Lakers down from 10.5 to 10. Very public, not surprising. 88% of tickets, only 85% of the cash on the Lakers. I would take the points with New Orleans in that one. Am I going to do it? No. Clippers, here we go. The Clippers and the Mavs, both teams, 3-win teams. The Clippers, the one thing I will agree with Saab on here is that the Clippers are the better team right now, which the odds makers are telling you because the Clippers are favored on the road. They're down from 3.5 to 3, but 72% of tickets, 82% of the cash on the Clippers. Money looks like it's kind of agreeing on the Clippers. Yes, it's a positive spot in that they're leaving home after a horrific homestand where they've actually lost 5 games in a row at home, losing 3 on the most recent homestand. So, yes, it is going to be good for the Clippers to just get out of there. Surprisingly, the Clippers are no longer good at home after they were really good after they got their new home arena last year. They're really good at home. They no longer are. Now they got to go on the road and play Dallas. It should be a focus spot. They do play Boston next, which could be a look ahead because the Celtics just draw your attention still, even though they're kind of mediocre this year. Still, I think it is a positive spot because when you're losing that many games in a row, you're not really going to overlook anybody. So I don't really disagree with that, it being a positive spot for the Clippers. I don't think it's really a negative for Dallas either, though, as Dallas is but we have to see. The only issue is I got to see what their injury situation is in a minute. Dallas, they've lost a couple of games at home as well, losing to Phoenix most recently, staying at home. Not exactly a bad spot for Dallas. I mean, they should be also focused and kind of in a bounce back mode here. Now, the question is what's going on with Dallas's injuries because they've been an injured team. P.J. Washington's game time decision, he's mostly been playing, so I kind of think he's going to play. He's got a shoulder thing. He's questionable. He played in their last game, but he only played 5 minutes and exited the game. We'll see if he's going to play, but obviously the biggest deal is Anthony Davis. Is he going to play? He's listed as questionable. Now, the thing is, he hasn't played since October 29th, so here's the thing. I like Saab's Clipper play a lot more if Davis comes back. So I would wait on this because if Davis is going to come back, that's like the big injury, injury news that can happen here. The line will actually drop a bit on the Clippers. You'll get a better number on the Clippers if Davis comes back. And if he does, then I do actually like the Clippers a bit more than I would otherwise. Because I would probably still lean that way, but a little bit of a stronger lean if AD comes back because he's been away for so long and he still hasn't even been on Dallas that long, so he hasn't even played with Dallas because they got him last year and then he immediately got injured, so they still haven't even developed chemistry with Anthony Davis. So him coming back is going to throw a wrench into their rotation, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to have to take time to build up that chemistry. They might, take it a little bit easy, realizing that he's back. So if Davis comes back tonight, yeah, I think it is definitely a fade spot for fading the Mavs there, but I just don't want to get involved in the game. And then we do have Golden State, San Antonio. This is a good game, and this is also a zigzag. Let me see. Actually, you know what? I think I actually have a play on this game, too. I do. I forgot. I did actually decide to make a play on this. We're going to lay the points with San Antonio in this game, minus the 2. This is a zigzag spot here. Golden State, I mean, they're a team that's kind of past their prime now, man, and they're playing a third straight road game in 4 days, although both these last 2 games were in San Antonio, so they're not traveling, but still, 3 road games in 4 days. It's a 4th game in 6 days. It's actually a 5th game in 8 days, and it's a 7th game in, 7th game in 11 days or something like that. So they've had a really packed schedule with most of those games being on the road, so the schedule for Golden State isn't very good. They did win in a high-scoring game on Wednesday at San Antonio. San Antonio was a 3.5-point favorite in that game and lost the game, and now San Antonio is only a 2-point favorite. So I think you're going to get value. This is a zigzag spot where it looks like you're getting value in the market now because San Antonio lost the game, but San Antonio was winning this game for a while. If you look at what happened in this game, San Antonio, they had the lead throughout the entire first half. They had the biggest lead in the game of 15, I think is what the biggest lead was in the entire game, and that was San Antonio. And then Golden State overtook them in the second half and got out of there with the win. But San Antonio actually was debatably the better team in this game. San Antonio really the tail was 20 turnovers for San Antonio. They had a horrific turnover game. Golden State 16 as well, but you lose the turnover battle, it's going to be difficult to win the game, man. San Antonio at home, I think they're going to clean things up, man. With the zigzag, sometimes you get more value in the number, but also the team that lost has the adjustments to make, whereas the team that won, they don't have any changes to make because they already, they were able to win the game. So it's what do you have to fix? You don't really have anything to fix. So I like that better for San Antonio. They have things to clean up. San Antonio's still 5-1 at home. That was their first home loss. So I know that could I guess you could debate that would hang you over a little bit, but I think it's going to motivate them in this case. And the Warriors have been bad on the road, 2-6 on the road. So you do have a San Antonio team that's way better at home than the Warriors are on the road. So that is definitely a factor as well. I think it is a bounce back spot. I think San Antonio is better than they actually looked in that game. They're going to try to win this game. They're going to be focused. Golden State, again, they just don't really have anything to fix in this game, man. So that's the whole kind of the crux of this is the zigzag and the fact that San Antonio was better in that game than they looked. And San Antonio is a little bit more rested here as they've had more days off in the mix there, and almost all their recent games have been at home. So that sets up better for them, more rest for them. As far as the injury situation, I don't think there's anything huge here. I think it's basically been Kuminga for Golden State, who's been an issue, but he did play in the last game. He got hurt in the last game. He's questionable, but I mean, if it's an injured player spot for him, I don't really think that's really that much of a factor. He's not like the star player on Golden State or anything like that, so I don't really see this being like an injured player spot. Champagny, however you pronounce his name, is also listed on the injury report for the Spurs, who's kind of one of their better players. I mean, he hasn't been that effective this year, though, for them. He played 20 minutes in the previous game as well. Whatever. I just don't think there's a whole lot to go on as far as the injuries there. I don't think there's much to really read into. I would lay it with San Antonio, though, so that's going to finish the NBA board. Man, we got a lot of games here. We got 5 college basketball, 3 NBA, and 2 NHL. So packed Friday with 10 plays. I don't have any plays in college football, but we'll talk about that, of course, before we leave here. ESPN, 7:30 p.m. We have this big ACC matchup between Clemson and number 20 Louisville. This game, when the season started, it looked like this game was going to be a lot bigger than it is now because Clemson has struggled this year. Clemson is 4-5 now, and one argument is for Clemson from some people is going to be that, Clemson is still trying to win to become bowl eligible. But I don't agree with that line of argumentation because Clemson, I mean, they're a team that thought they were going to be in the playoff again. They thought they were going to be in the mix for the championship this year. And when you're a team that thinks you're going to contend for a championship, you don't care about getting into a bowl game, man. We get to 6 wins and we get to play in, the Mayo Bowl or the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and our coach Dabo Sweeney gets a little bit of more than a dab of mayo dumped on him. They're not going to care about that. That might be where they wind up because they're going to be bowl eligible anyway because they're going to beat Furman next week. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. So they're going to be bowl eligible. Or no, they need one more win, actually. Never mind. They need one more besides that. But I don't know. Actually, yeah, it's a little bit dicey for Clemson, actually, as far as making a bowl. We'll see. But I thought they had 5 wins for some reason. But yeah, anyway, they're not going to care about being in some crap bowl. Like, they're Clemson. They're a title contender. If they make a bowl like that, they're probably not even going to show up for it. So that would be a game where you want to look to fade Clemson in a bowl game like that. But Clemson's also coming off a pretty big win over Florida State. That was a nice win for them, beating one of the bigger names in the ACC. I do think they'll still get up, though, for a game against Louisville. Like, when you're Clemson and you don't have anything left to really play for the rest of the season, I think you will still get up for an ESPN game against an ACC rival that's ranked because you do have the ability to play spoiler here. If you're Clemson, you could spoil Louisville's shot at maybe potentially getting into the championship game here. And by the way, one of Clemson's only losses last year was to Louisville at home. So Louisville actually went into Death Valley and beat Clemson. So Clemson might remember that. So I think Clemson is actually going to pay attention to this game and to South Carolina at the end of the season when it gets to it, because they lost to South Carolina in that game last year too. So a team like Clemson that had very few losses last year, they're going to remember those losses. So I actually think that will motivate them here as well. Louisville, of course, is going to be motivated because they're in a spot similar to Old Dominion last night, which I should have taken that into account, where Louisville, it's unlikely they're going to make the ACC championship, but they need teams above them to lose. Louisville's got 2 losses in the ACC. They got 5 teams ahead of them with 1 loss right now. So it's unlikely Louisville's going to make it, but if multiple of those teams drop to 4-2, there's a chance that Louisville might be able to still make it. So Louisville's a team that's in a spot right now where they're still mathematically alive, but they need a lot of help. So it's kind of like it's out of their hands. So they can play a little bit looser. They are hosting this game at home. And I think they're also going to be focused because it's against Clemson. I think you still get up for a game against Clemson because it's a big name. And Louisville lost at home to Cal last week in overtime. That's an ugly loss, dude, for Louisville. Losing as a home favorite of 18.5 points. They lost to Cal. That is like almost unacceptable. So you could argue that that could be considered a dream crusher because it gave Louisville their second loss. And Cal actually outgained them in the game too. So it wasn't that misleading. But I could see both arguments here, man. I could see the argument that it's a dream crusher, but I don't think it is because I don't think they're completely eliminated yet. And again, I think because it's Clemson and because that was such an embarrassing loss, I actually expect them to still focus on this game, but I also expect focus out of Clemson here. Both teams played on Saturday, so they have the same rest here. As far as the market read, Louisville is... you'd think they would be the public side. They're down from 3 to 2.5 here. 55% of the tickets are actually on Clemson, but 65% of the cash on Clemson. Don't think you can get the 3 anymore on Clemson. Maybe it'll show up again. Maybe if you wait around game time, if you do like Clemson, and I do lean that way, I would take the points with Clemson in this one if I was going to play it. Obviously, getting the key number 3 would be big, which you missed out on it at this point, but you might see it show up during the day, especially if the public starts kind of coming in on Clemson, because you know the public likes to bet football, and on a Friday night, this is the game they're going to bet most likely. This is bigger than the other game, so you may still be able to catch a 3 on Clemson if you like that. Total dropped from 51.5 to 51, juice the under. If you do like the under, the 51 is the key number there. 73% of tickets, 82% of the cash on the over. In a game like that, I mean, I would probably be leaning towards an under as well because you might see both teams focus enough on the game. Although I hesitate a little bit. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on the game, really. So, and then Minnesota is at Oregon, who's ranked 8th in the country. Oregon's up from 23.5 to 25 here. They're getting the cash, 68% of the cash on Oregon, 56% of tickets on Minnesota. So Minnesota is actually public, which seems very strange to me. I don't understand why the public would be wanting to play Minnesota against Oregon, even though it is a big number. Minnesota has had a bunch of time off because they last played on November 1st. They're coming out of a bye. They did go into the bye on a good note because they got their 6 wins, so they're bowl eligible again, which with Minnesota, I mean, that is one of their goals because I don't think they realistically think they can win the Big Ten or anything like that. So that's a big win for them to get bowl eligible against Michigan State. So they did go into the bye on a good note, but they do have extra prep time here for Oregon, and it's not like they're going to be unfocused against Oregon, but it is a spot where they do have to go out to the Pacific Coast, so that is a difficult travel spot, and it's a very hostile environment that Minnesota's not familiar with because they don't usually have to play in Oregon. I don't think they've ever played a regular season game at Oregon, or at least not recently, because Oregon's new to the conference. So I think if they played at all last year, it would have been at Minnesota. Now, Minnesota did do it once this year. They went to Cal in September, so they did make the Pacific Coast trip one time, so they're at least used to it, although they lost that game. Cal has been a decently competitive team, though. But now I think the fact that they've done it once and they have extra time off will actually kind of mitigate that Pacific Coast travel spot a little bit. So I don't hate that. And they got the extra time off because Oregon is on a short week. Oregon did just play on Saturday, and they got a big win against Iowa, man. So that was a big game in the Big Ten. Really physical battle. Iowa will beat you up. It was a close physical game. Oregon got the win. You could argue they escaped because Oregon was the favorite in the game. But I kind of see it as it being a big game, a ranked versus ranked matchup. And with short time, I think it actually could maybe set up a bit of a letdown spot for Oregon here, even though, of course, they're still fighting to try to get into the Big Ten championship here. They got 1 loss in the Big Ten. I mean, it's unlikely because they need Indiana or Ohio State to slip up, but it is mathematically possible. And I mean, Oregon already lost to Indiana, though, so they don't have the tiebreaker against Indiana, so that is a problem. They have not played Ohio State, I don't think, so that's the one thing that kind of helps them. They need Ohio State to slip up, though. Or again, if Indiana does slip up again, Oregon will potentially overtake them. I guess if Indiana slips up twice, which is probably not going to happen. But anyway, Oregon's in kind of one of those situations like Old Dominion last night and like Louisville tonight where they're still mathematically alive, but they need help. So really all they can do is win, and then it's kind of out of there. It's almost like it's in God's hands, you know what I mean? So they actually get to play looser for that reason. But they do have USC up next. That's a big game, a former Pac-12 game there. That's now a Big Ten game. So there is definitely an argument to be made here that it's a sandwich spot, and Minnesota with extra rest. You know, I'm going to lean to taking the points with Minnesota in that game. I don't want to touch it, though, but that would be my lean in that game. The money seems to disagree with me in that one. But I do think because Oregon's coming off such a punishing game and with short rest here with USC up next, yeah, I mean, I would kind of lean against it, but I don't want to play Minnesota, especially just going to a really unfamiliar, hostile environment on the road with another Pacific time zone trip. Don't want to do it, so I'm leaving the game alone. That's going to do it, man. Thanks for hanging out. Charles, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in at the end of the show. You got all my plays real quick, and we got a bunch of them today, and a lot of these lines have moved, so I apologize for that, but it just happens in college basketball early in the morning, man. So once again, the plays today. Hofstra minus the 1.5 or money line, or you might have to lay 2.5 on it now. I like the Hofstra side, though. College basketball, we're talking about. DePaul plus the 5 or whatever the best numbers you can get. Always get the best number. Colgate plus 29.5. You might be able to get a better number on that one now, too. So I'll have to look and see what the best number is. Cal Poly plus the 7.5. Colorado plus 1, although you might have to lay like a money line on it now because they're shifting to the favorite. NHL, we got the St. Louis Blues on the money line. We got a split bet, make your own +1 puck line. Make your own -1, puck line on Utah as a favorite. You could go with Utah in regulation at about -135 as well, but those have not been working out for me. So I'm going back to the more risk-averse solution, where if they win the game at all, it'll be a push. You're having to lay about the same price on this at about -130. I think a little bit less at about -134 if you can kind of find the best number on both. Splitting part of it on the -1.5 puck line and the other part of it on -200 on the money line, unfortunately. But there just aren't great ways to play favorites, but it's just such a good spot. I just don't want to really leave it alone. Bad spot for the Islanders. So that's what we're doing there. Gets a little bit pricey. For that to make it your own -1 puck line exactly, you can use an odds calculator for that, like I've shown you, and it comes out to about 60% of the bet on the -200. And then in the NBA, we're getting real ugly with the Brooklyn Nets plus 14.5, Sacramento Kings plus 12, and less ugly, I guess, the San Antonio Spurs -2. That's going to do it. Last minute, those are all the plays. Yes, sir. I'm going to eat lunch now as well. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Happy Friday to everybody. Let's get some wins. Huge card. Going to lose my voice again. Got to put out all these Instagram videos. Long live Tower Gang. I decided to bring back the hat for a little bit. I almost wore my Sabonis jersey, and I should have because it's got black. Well, I mean, black matches anything, but black and purple would go well with a black hat. So that's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Like and subscribe here. Toadstool Sports. Hopefully you guys like the rebranding here. Toadstool Sports. So like, subscribe, comment. Helps me out on the channel here. Tower Game for life. Yeah. Give me a good review on Spotify and iTunes. We got a few 5 stars on Spotify, so I appreciate that. None on iTunes, Apple yet, so it helps me out, all that stuff. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. I know I need to somehow get that to take off a little bit more. Been thinking about consolidating all my stuff into like just one single Toad YouTube, but I don't know yet. Because I feel like I'm like spreading myself too thin maybe. I don't know. But then having like ridiculously like disparate things on one channel is weird too. Like a channel with Uke and sports betting, and if I want to do like tier lists and stuff, I don't know, because I've been thinking about maybe doing that too. It seems a little weird all on one channel. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just thinking about things, and then the Toadiverse, I could call it that. Yeah, interesting. I'll think about it. I don't know how I would like merge the two channels that already have stuff up on each channel. I mean, I could just start posting the Uke videos on, like, use this channel here and change the name of it again. Just start using putting the Uke videos up on this one. I don't know. And patreon.com/learntotoad. All Uke content right now. There's a Spotify Uke feed. I know I apologize. I'm very slow at being up to date with that. The sports betting has taken a lot out of me, man. And I should just be betting because it's been really good. I should be back to betting. I was doing it for like 18 years and I stopped because my money was not liquid enough after I after I lost my job. I never really had that much money, that was totally liquid. So bad spot for me. The illiquid fund spot for me there. So got to figure out what I want to do because we've been hot. I would have been winning money on this recently. So it's been a good end to the year. We're going to wind up for the year for sure at this point, unless something really goes badly, which I know I have it's the high volume part of the year. So I guess it's possible, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, but that's it, man. And then you get requests on the Patreon as well. That's going to do it. Have a good one, guys. Peace.